Uh,
Got
oh,
it. Got it, got it.
very good. It tells me recording in progress. That sounds good.
And it'll tell you, you know how I said it ends in like an hour. It'll tell
Yeah.
you ahead of time. Like it'll tell you like 10 minutes ahead of time
Ah,
when it's
that's
about.
fine. And then I can edit it together. That's fine.
Yep, yep, yep.
Um, Great. Nice to see you again.
Nice to
Long
see you as
time.
well, man. Always nice to see you, man. Always nice to hear from you and everything, man. Oh, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So I had some really, really extremely powerful revelations over the last 2 weeks, let's say.
Mhm.
Um,
Me as well, honestly. I mean, I feel like that's his life, right? Like
yeah, yeah, of course, but
you know what I'm saying?
it's actually the time. I've checked the pattern app, and
I
there's
didn't download
literally
that. I didn't download that one yet. I didn't download that one.
it's really nice because it's kind of working in a way like so you have this astrology part and the human design influence in the background. It's not
Ooh,
using all these phrases. It's really like it really writes you down things, or it elaborates on all these things.
got you.
Um, and it's also using the Maya cycles in terms of it shows you what cycles in your life
Oh,
in for example, one of my cycles right now is relationship expansion. And in the most literal way, that's what's happening. Um, I've over the last year, I was like really becoming more or less best friends with Sophie.
yeah, right.
Um, and also she is pretty much into astrology and especially human design. She's learning that. And so
So you said
she's,
it, sorry. You said it lines up with the Maya cycle thing. Like it as in
yeah,
like
like
if,
crazy.
that's cool. That's cool.
And it's not only this relationship that's like all my relations, because of all these
Right.
revelations that I had. I now know how to basically get back into touch with all my family, with friends I've
Mhm.
more or less disbanded.
Right.
And so to, because I was like, let's say, pushing the my friends away
Mhm.
because I misunderstood myself.
Mm.
And yeah, I now finally understand that, let's say, the world doesn't revolve around me.
Right.
Only my universe does.
Mhm.
But there are like a few billion universes on this planet.
Right.
So, you know,
That's
uh,
actually really interesting that you say that because I'm I honestly kind of went through a similar thing as well. Like where I kind of just cut off a lot of pretty much all of my friends. Really, all I spend time with now is, I guess, family. I mean, at least I have that though, right? You know what I mean? But
yeah,
yeah, it's interesting that you say that. I think I went through a similar phase like that. You know what I'm saying? Like where I just kind of think the
yeah,
universe falls
it's
around.
the
You know what I mean?
synchronicity is insane. It's really
Right, right.
um it's really crazy. So, and I had all these insights and over the last, let's say, 1.5 weeks, like
Mhm.
not for the last 2 days because it's empty, but my fucking phone. I have to
Do you
turn off
think?
that sound. So, what?
So do your thing. Do your thing. Whatever you got to do.
Yeah, yeah. I'm looking for where my cup is because now you're drinking. That reminded me I made tea. Here it is. Behind my screen. What are you drinking?
It's just coffee.
No, nice, nice.
Yeah.
I
I
have
don't know.
this yogi spice tea.
Mm,
I love it.
yeah. You big tea guy?
Yeah, kind of yeah, over the last year, I developed really like a taste for tea.
Mhm,
So I never said no to tea,
mhm.
but now I have like, I don't know, in my kitchen are 20 different flavors now.
Yeah, I go through like
Uh,
different phases. Like one time I tried
yeah.
matcha. Like I did it a little while when I did matcha. I did tea as well. There was this mushroom coffee I tried that was pretty good. That
Hmm.
was lion's mane, reishi, and all these different mushrooms and stuff. It's actually pretty good. You know what I mean? So
Yeah,
whatever.
a friend of mine also has this.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, so there's better coffee in the world than mushroom
Right.
coffee, but it's
Right, right, right.
cool that it exists, let's say.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. It was cool. It was cool. It was cool. For sure.
Yeah, funny. But see, there are so many similarities. That's crazy.
Mhm. Similar wavelength,
And
man.
I start, and
Honestly, I learned a lot from you, so it's not even surprising. You know what I mean? Like, and honestly, it's not surprising to me because I guess once you get close to the truth, it's kind of hard to not see that in different
exactly
aspects of life. Do
because
you
the
get what I'm saying?
truth,
Like,
because the truth
mhm,
is a principle. It
right.
applies everywhere.
Exactly.
And that's a kind of a discussion I had like with so many people that say, yeah, but I have my truth, you have yours. I say, no,
Mhm.
fuck this shit. It's either true or not,
Right.
you know,
Right.
and if it's true and if it's really the truth,
Mhm.
then it's true for everyone.
Right.
There's everything else is interpretation.
Right. I mean, I guess isn't that like a concept in science, right? There's the objective truth, right? And then there's subjective truth, right? Or am I just
Yeah, but that's the misleading part.
Yeah.
Because the subjective truth is
Mhm.
just an interpretation. It has nothing to do with truth.
Exactly. That's what if I were to explain it, that's how I would explain it actually. It's that is what a subjective truth is.
Yeah.
It's just perspective, right? It's just individual perspective as opposed to universal perspective, I guess, right? Which would be objective.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And yeah, and that's these what I got, like what I learned.
Right.
Also, I learned a lot from you, even if you didn't know or whatever, because first of all, some of the subjects you put in my head or the questions you had helped me helped me realize a lot of things. So because that's one thing that I need. Also in astrological terms, or in the Maya cycle especially, and I would make your Maya cycle chart basically, or your horoscope, or you will see.
Right.
And in my part, where do I have this? I read you my horoscope now. Right?
Go for it.
Because I don't know if you remember, if maybe you watched the presentation from Ian Zell Langold, the Maya calendar video.
I've seen it a few times. I mean, it's still kind of I remember that. I look at that all the
have
time.
this
I'm
thingy.
6 in road. 6
You're
in road.
6 in so you have your horoscope. That's perfect. I'm a Unity dog, so one dog.
Yeah, that's cool.
And the one is the beginning of all things, the first. Right. Which is funny because my name is Benjamin and that's the firstborn. So even our names apply, you know, that's so crazy. The whole, the all of none, assertive and self-guided, these persons give a good push to whatever project they are associated. One person's work best when meeting a challenge. Do not expect one person's to be attentive to details or to put the finishing touch on things.
Right.
If I would show you
I remember that too. I remember that from sorry. I remember that from when you first showed me it too. I remember some of that, you know what I mean?
Yeah. So and not putting finishing touch on things, like I need to basically finish a lot of things in my apartment. Yeah. I show you around. It looks like this.
Hold on, Benny. Hold on, Benny. Someone's knocking at my door. I'm sorry.
Yeah, go.
I'll be really quick. Hold on.
No worries. We have time. It's really.
This is yours, right? Sorry, that's my brother-in-law.
Ah, hello, brother.
It's my brother-in-law. He just I had his card on me and he needed it, so whatever.
Yeah, that's fine. No worries.
Yeah.
What's that nice alien lamp?
That one?
That looks good.
I gotta plug it in. You want to see it? Hold on. It lights up. It's just pink and what is it? Pink and purple. That's the color it is. So, what are you smoking? A cig?
Yeah. Sometimes I know. That's cool.
Yeah, I'll keep it on actually, right?
Nice gimmick.
Right.
Yeah. So I show you around. This is I need to do a lot of things, but I don't give a fuck about the details, and I'm not finishing things. I start a lot of things, and this is my whole life. People have known me for starting a lot of things and never finishing them. And now I read, this is exactly my intention, and and it's like how the universe made me or wants me to be or whatever. So wait, I take this
So
camera.
I mean, honestly, oh wow.
So
yeah, you showed me it.
So there's a lot of crap lying around. There are like I don't know. There's on the wall where my fireplace is, there's this little door where you have the chimney, basically, where you can clean it. I don't know. Since I put it there, I need to put some white color around it, But like,
let me see it.
Over there, I don't know, can you zoom that much?
Where?
Basically, exactly there. The silver door.
Oh, okay.
Or this little hatch or whatever, how it's called. And the mortar around it, from putting it into the chimney is still gray. So it's something that would take me like 2 minutes to do.
You just never do it.
But it's a little detail that could be, that would
change things a lot
change things towards finishing,
Right.
I don't care.
I get you. I kind of have that issue with some things. Sometimes I'm just like, screw it, and I just really execute. Like, because for me, sometimes I'm a perfectionist. You know what I'm saying? I don't know if that makes any sense.
Yeah, me too in some things.
Yeah, exactly. And so that gets in my way a lot, especially like, I make music and stuff like that, things like that. I like it to be perfect before I release it. And it's just, I get in my own way in that aspect. But yeah.
Yeah, and I do also, I try to make music, so I'm actually very musical. I was a drummer in a band in my school time, etc. And
what was your band called? Oh wait.
Oh, too bad. I don't have the. Maybe I can show you later on the TV.
I'm down whenever. Show me.
Our name, our band was called Shy.
Shy? Yeah.
Because we had this, it was in the 90s, no, in the 2000s, so 90, I don't know, 95, 96 or something like that.
That's crazy. That's crazy.
I
think I knew that about you.
And
I think I knew that about you. You played the drum set?
Yeah,
cool. I played a little bit of drum set growing up too, a little bit. Yeah.
And we were like on the Nirvana trip, like the grunge time.
Right.
It was basically all or the like inversing things. Like, we were not Shy at all in the end, but
right.
We needed a band name, so Shy was cool.
That's cool though. I like that though. I like the inversion stuff, like stuff like that, especially like in hindsight. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
with the philosophy in mind, right? I guess, right? All is one or whatever. All exists on a spectrum, I guess, or whatever. But whatever.
Yeah, exactly. And a little bit controversy here and there. It's actually helping thinking about things better, because then you're not so nailed on or down to like this closed mindset.
Right, exactly.
What did Terence McKenna say? If you don't how was it called? If you don't contradict yourself occasionally, your point is not even remotely like complex enough.
Yeah.
So, and that's very true.
Yep, that's 100% true.
So,
I have something about that too.
And I have like, there's my keyboard thingy, and over there's my guitar, my bass.
It's pretty good.
Soon to be here from downstairs. I have an electric drum set. So I have like a lot of instruments.
Yeah,
but I never find time to actually play them.
Yeah, I know. I'm honestly, that's the same thing for me. I don't really. Sometimes I pick up the guitar and practice. Like, I have an acoustic here,
but the music project that because I wanted to make like the deep dark dubstep that I always listen to.
Yeah, I know. Yeah,
but I never find like the patience to actually get used to Fruity Loops. Even
Right.
though I have the full professional version of it, but it's just on my computer and it's rotting there. So then I had this idea, okay, but actually like the cool dubstep can be played with instruments too.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
Like nice
A lot of them
liquidy
probably
bass
use
lines and
exactly, yeah. A lot of them probably do occasionally use live instruments and stuff just to record like cool riffs and like you know what I mean, things like that.
yeah, and then you can still even apply some like digitalization to it, etc.
Exactly, yeah, exactly.
And sample it and whatever. But this is because it's a more natural way to do it for me, because I can play these instruments to a degree. I'm not a master, you know.
Right.
I'm in general, I'm this jack of all trades, but a master of none.
Right.
So that's things that I realized about myself, and I'm quite happy with it. So I don't know if you like here, let me the dog. It's
Dog,
also
yeah, you
very
gotta do the dog.
interesting, and it's so on point. It was scary in the beginning,
Right.
but then I just submitted to it and I said like, okay, this is me. Where is this shit?
Yeah, I know that thing is confusing. I even with the pictures because
Here. No, I was looking for the yellow symbol, but it's a white symbol.
Yeah.
So dog, courageous, loyal, warm-hearted, very alert and valiant. People born of dog are respected for their sense of justice and their protection. That's funny because that's exactly what my my elementary school teacher wrote in my
Wow.
in my things in my what's it called, my report.
Your report, yeah.
So it's you know, she already knew.
I mean, I can say that if I was writing a report about you right now, I would say the same exact thing. You know what I'm saying? Like something very similar. So
and people born of the sunline dog are very sensual and know how to enjoy life. Oh yes. It's like exactly. The playfulness and a good understanding of basic human nature lead to prosperity for dog. Yeah, let's see what comes out of this kind of video series that I want to do now. Dogs are good team players who love to travel and have a keen sense of their position in society. Actually, yes, but over the past, let's say 25 years, I've been living in my shadow. So that's why I got like not anxiety, but or in the Boulder gym, for example, where I work, I do the beginner courses. And I'm cleaning the holes when we strip the walls and set new routes, etc. And people love me. I even get like chocolate from kids that have like beginner courses with their mom, and no one else does, because I don't know, it's just my thing. So that's why I'm keen about my position, because I know what I really like doing is showing people the foundation of things, or the basics, and not in terms of stuff that we have always talked about, but also the basics of bouldering, for example. It's really it's so fucking obvious that this is me. And dogs are ambitious.
To that point, listen, to that point, I'm sorry. To that point, I never was on like a team with you or anything like that would resemble a team, but I do know you as a person. And I remember even in the Discord that we created, remember? You were always trying to teach people, always including everybody, always, you know what I mean? And you're a good teacher. I think that is a big part of being a team player or a leader, you know what I mean? In some aspect. So whatever.
Yeah. But that's the thing. That's why I need this team around me. I need to have conversations. That's why what we are doing now is exactly where I'm comfortable. Just putting a camera in front of me and just talking to no one is I tried a few times, but it's weird. I sit at the camera and then I'm like,
it's weird. And then when I start talking,
I don't know what to talk about. So.
Exactly, yeah. I relate to that exactly too, because I was literally just trying to record myself like a couple days ago, and I was just trying to talk, like, you know what I mean? And then you kind of go off path and things like that, and there's no flow to it, and you're always thinking of like what to say, and it doesn't even feel like you're being yourself at that point. I don't even know. It's like weird. But yeah.
That's what exactly. And Dogs are ambitious and will take opportunities when they offer themselves, including infidelities. Oh, yes. Dog persons share the nature of coyotes, spies, wolves, and lawyers, which is the coyote is, I don't know, we don't have coyotes here in Europe or in Germany, but probably one thing that you in the US would say about the coyote is that it's like, you can't kill it. So it has this ultimate survival instinct. It can go through the prairie or the desert for days without water, but it won't die.
Yeah. Also, coyotes are very much team players as well, I guess.
That, of course, yes.
Yeah, yeah. So, but yeah, and that as well. I mean, they're all about survival and, you know, instinct and, you know, doing whatever to get food and whatnot. So, yeah.
And spies, what are spies known for? They get to the bottom of things. They want to know. They figure out the truth about whatever they are spying on.
And they're very clever about it as well.
Yes, of course. And wolves, they love the moon. Or they, you know, we all have this picture in mind of this wolf on this cliff, and you have the full moon in the background and it's howling. That's basically also me. Whenever the full moon is there, I'm like so depending on what phase of life or what time of the year it is, I get into different moods or whatever. But yeah, the full moon really fucks me up. Well, and also is my biggest helper that I didn't know. And I say a little bit more about this in a second. And lawyers, yeah, the righteous ones that always work by principle. If you're a good lawyer, you know, your principle is the truth, no matter what. So it's you know, and it doesn't matter from what perspective I try to get to this. It's like it's crazy.
Spot on, yeah. For sure. Yeah. I mean, I noticed the same thing about mine as well in that thing. That's why I remember it 6 and road, but yeah, it was pretty spot on. I mean, I still got my whole life ahead of me.
Let me see. 6
so, I mean, I think I still have to discover a lot of what they have to say in there, but you know what I mean?
Yeah, of course. Me too. So I'm really, I mean, the things that I now realized and understood.
Right.
Let's say the 25 years that you have in front of you, or how old are you? 21?
22 now. I'm turning 22 in like 10 days now, honestly. So
yeah, so I'm 39, you know. So this
huge
difference of
right
more life experience in general and more time to research all of this. But that's also one of the things why I like talking to basically everyone who wants to know, but especially to younger people, because I can like save you a lot of time researching things where you know, because I've researched almost everything and I've spent a lot of time like sorting out all the bad peas basically.
Exactly, yeah.
You know?
Yep, 100%. I'm grateful to you for that. You know what I mean? Seriously, I love spending time talking to you as always.
And so what do we have? You said 8 or 6? 6 flow. That's of course.
Yeah, I know, yeah, I know exactly. That's what I'm saying.
So the movement of volume through space creating time.
I know.
It's amazing. 6 is the energy of negotiation and responsiveness. Think of the art of dance or the play of a great athlete to see this energy in action. 6 energy facilitates dynamic developments and improvement in all aspects of life. You couldn't phrase it better.
I know, that's spot on. Spot on for me.
All I have known about you so far and how I got to know you, this is exactly.
It's negotiation, really, right? I guess, right? Communicating, that's how I am.
Yes, exactly.
I'm a natural athlete. I dance a little bit, but music in general, rhythm, things like that, you know what I mean? That's just my thing. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, I don't know. But yeah, improvements in life, especially since I've met people like you, all I've done is improve in life. So, like, you know what I mean? So
and that's the curious thing about this is what we Oh, the meeting ends in 10 minutes. Oh, I can upgrade. If I have like the full
Oh yeah,
version.
yeah, you can upgrade it.
Let me quickly upgrade this. I clicked on upgrade, but what happened? Here. I don't need I don't need 100 members. Crazy shit.
Maybe one
So
day, who knows? Maybe you'll be doing lectures or something.
yeah, that's one of my
Right.
long-term goals,
Exactly.
my stretch goals basically. To yet now over the coming weekend I'm going to Münster. It's like a town here in Germany where they have where Sophie is going to have their human design meetings and lectures, and where she's learning it. And I'm basically invited for one afternoon to check it out, how they do it and what's being talked about, etc., and to get to know these people.
Wow.
Because she talked a lot about me to them, and
Ooh.
they're like, we have to get to know this guy. It's like,
Oh, that's awesome. Hey, there you go, man. Maybe that's your opportunity right there, man. Might start
because
moving it.
in human design I'm a reflector,
Right.
and they do know reflectors, but I'm this reflector who's also a Scorpio and a Jupiter born.
Sure.
And that's kind of for to getting to the bottom of things, and like using my X-ray energy to shine light through everything. This is kind of very so the reflectors are already only like kind of 1% of mankind.
Wow.
And then having a reflector who's a Scorpio of the sun, and the sun Scorpios are all about the truth.
Right. It all lines up.
And
That's actually crazy.
and then being a Jupiter born who is like also about like getting to shining through everything. It's like,
Right.
I don't know, there's probably only every 30 years one person like this. And that doesn't say that not everyone is unique.
Mhm.
Everyone is unique, of course,
Yeah.
but
I mean, I would say that about you as well. Even if there's a person like you, there's no one who is you, right? So I mean, I don't know. Even if I met someone like you, I would never say they were like Benny.
so
In
how
my
do
opinion, whatever.
yearly, so I want to have this and this. I use this. I probably can change this later, right? If I say now it's a personal use and not a commercial use, I can probably change this later. I don't know.
Yeah, I didn't know it was that detailed for the membership.
Yeah, neither did I. Zoom rooms. I don't know. What do I need? Zoom phone? No, I don't need Zoom phone. Zoom one. Video conference and real-time chat with this is probably what I need for now. I think I can upgrade this later.
Yeah, you definitely should be able to. I don't know why they
Yeah,
wouldn't
if not, it would be like really bad for Zoom, right?
Yeah, exactly. Let me get my laptop charger.
I see. I should read like headlines. If I'm interested in different tariffs or options, video webinars. No, I can even skip this. So yes, you don't see my screen right now, right?
No, but you can share screen. You can share screen.
Yeah, but I don't want to share my personal information right now. So
No, I can't see your screen. No.
it's only me. My address. Let's see. Can I just take this from here? Address, town, Berlin as well. This doesn't matter. Why do I need a fucking tax ID?
Wait, really? What the heck?
Okay, it's not tax related, so I can click this, and then you click here
Probably
on
depending on whatever
PayPal.
membership.
So this is this. No, I don't want to save my information. It's like, oh, 166 euro. That's how it is. Yeah, I agree. Okay. Now this should, yeah, this opens PayPal. That's good.
Got 5 minutes. It's like defusing a bomb.
Yeah, right. No, I don't want to use my this. And here we go. Now I'm waiting. Oh yeah, so it's upgraded. Let's see. Do I have to like restart this now? Probably, right?
I don't know. I didn't get that far into Zoom class.
Let's see. I clicked on this upgrade on to Pro thing again. I did. Maybe I have to restart the meeting. Let's see. Yeah, I think so. Or we just wait these 4 minutes
Yeah, sure.
and see if it just continues or if it stops and then I restart.
Okay.
So yeah, let's finish you here. Or did I already finish? Road.
Yeah,
Ah, yeah, road. So the bearer of time and the conductor of destiny.
Hmm?
You know, it's like I'm speechless sometimes. The person open the road. Yeah, these persons open the road and guide to the future groups,
Right.
communities, and individuals alike. What did I just say about you?
I know, yeah.
You know
I know.
what
We were
you
just talking
helped
about.
me.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that is exactly me though. If people who know me personally and like real life too as well, like they'll all say the same exact thing.
Yeah.
And
And
when I showed this to my family, they actually agreed with me. I even did their stuff too, and they were like, "Wow, it's crazy how spot on
yeah,
this is." You know what I mean? Yeah.
and it always reflects what's written here when you
Right.
live in your light, basically, and not in your shadow. This
Exactly.
is the exact first thing that yourself and everybody else would say about you. It's not the yeah, and he's also like this and this and that, but
Yeah,
this is
yeah,
the
yeah.
first thing that comes to mind.
Exactly. Yeah. That's
Um,
exactly yeah.
so
100%.
likable, obedient, dedicated, hard workers and organizers. Yes, if I remember how you were talking about your business stuff, exactly. Road persons are fortunate in business and travel. Yeah, as you just said. You know, many became caretakers of the poor, sick, or old people, where they make many personal sacrifices.
I mean, that's exactly me as well. I give a lot of my money to the homeless. I take care of my old people all the time. Old people love me, honestly. I always talk to old people.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? I'll do anything for old people and anybody, honestly. That's just what I would
that's
do.
very good to hear. So, sometimes referred to as the sign of grass, which is the most bountiful of all life forms, but is also the most humble. Road persons are affectionate and empathic. They are easily hurt, but slow to anger. This holding in of negative emotions and unexpressed resentment can lead to illness, a poisoned opinion of others, and a false bravado for the sun sign.
Yep. And then from personal experience, that's spot on, honestly. Like even the end
So
part, yeah. About
that's why everybody who is maybe watching this in the future, get this Maya. Oh, it's like, do you see it the right way, or is it like
no,
flipped?
it's good. It's not inverted. It's not
Okay,
inverted.
because I see it inverted here on my side.
That's
So,
weird.
but this is like, it's insane. And
Yeah.
why this works, and the this evolution of consciousness and how it relates to, because Ian Zell Langold made this about the universe, with the year time scale of the universe itself. And I realized this because we are the universe, you know, and it's all like a fractal of the whole.
Right.
That it also applies, this evolution of consciousness, to each individual human being.
Yeah.
And this is what I now want to like share with you and talk about, because it makes a lot of things so much clearer.
Yeah.
And now we have less than 1 minute, and I don't want to like have a half of a
Yeah, no,
sentence.
that's rough.
Let's see.
We just gonna wait there.
Oh, we can have a zip of
Oh,
tea, you know.
They should tell us the seconds too. Like
Yeah, it's
less than a minute.
It's like,
Everybody.
come on.
Now he just awkwardly just did it there. I don't know. What can we do? Let's sing a song or something. In the meantime, row, row, row your boat gently down the stream.
Merrily, merrily, merrily.
Merrily,
So
Say something. Is
yeah, and it's not only for 1 hour. That's great.
right. Yeah, no
Um,
facts. There's no cap on
perfect.
it. It's good.
So yeah, let's see. I get one of these pictures here that I want to have in the background to explain this. It's the 9 levels of evolution of consciousness.
We're posting this on YouTube, right? Or is this one not going on YouTube?
It is going on YouTube too, yes.
We should probably link that to the Ian. I don't know
Yeah,
unless
of
you want to.
course, of course. This is full credit to Ian Zell Langert. So everybody who's watching this,
Right.
this would not have been possible without the work of Ian Zell Langert. May he rest in peace.
Right. And one step further, without the Mayans.
Yeah, of course, without the Mayans. This other guy he met with, and he, as he said in his presentation,
Right.
he met this other guy who wrote a book, and he wrote this book, and his talk is basically the product of them finding together. And what I'm now talking about and showing, and what I realized, is the product of their work and the Mayas, and also all the Greek mythology, all this shit in the Bible and everything, because it's actually all talking about the exact same thing. It doesn't matter where you look at it, but over time, it got more and more and more, let's not say
lost in translation, twisted.
Yes, lost in translation. Yeah, but sometimes also, yeah, actually sometimes corrupted.
Corrupted, yeah, 100%.
Because we have in the Bible the 7 days of creation. And when was it? I would have to look it up now. But you know the Bible too a bit, I guess.
Yeah, a little bit.
And when did the gods create man? On the 5th day?
Oof.
On the 4th day? I
thought it
think
was.
let's say.
Wasn't it the? I don't know.
Day of creation.
I should definitely know that too. I don't even know how to know it.
Let's say. And the evening and the morning were the 5th day. And God said, let the earth bring forth a living creature after his kind.
There you go. Yeah, yep.
And why this is basically true?
Mhm.
So, here we have this. I need to copy this picture. Or actually, yeah, I do it like this. And then I open it. And then I can probably, how do I do this here? I can
Share screen. It's share screen, the green button in the middle, right next to record.
Yes, let me see. So
make sure you don't have anything crazy open up.
No, it's only the
And just to preface, what Benny is about to explain is obviously he doesn't, not literally 7 days. It's actually a way of interpreting it that actually would make sense.
It's
when they say
it is literally 7 days, but it's not days that are talking about the movement of the sun.
Right. Not earthly days.
Exactly. So this is if you want to know more about this, so I recommend to everyone, and we put the links down in the description, to watch the 3-hour plus presentation of Ian Zell Langert. It's called let me actually,
I haven't seen this in a while, but it's actually crazy.
Like, I open this here on YouTube so everybody can see what I'm talking about. We put the link for this video in the comments below, of course, or in the description box, or how it's called. But it's the Ian Zell Langert. It is.
I remember
so. What part of my screen are you seeing now? I don't know.
I'm just seeing the chart. It's only the chart right now.
Okay, so how do I do this? I can put it here. Okay, so now I kind of understand. I get the hang of Zoom. So you should see it now.
There you go.
See it?
Yeah, I see it. Yep.
It's like this, and this is annoying. I can close this. So it's this top video here. Or the second one is also, it's basically
You see
both.
the chart there,
both
the
the
same
same.
chart right there is written out. Sorry, go ahead.
Hmm?
And I was just pointing out that you can see the same chart that you just pulled up written out on that thing. So
Yeah, exactly. This is the chart he's talking
Yep.
about.
Mhm.
And he talks a little bit more about, so I don't have the pictures for it now. This is stuff that I'm working out right now.
Right.
But I haven't finished anything about this yet because it's kind of a new project, so to speak.
Right.
Because I first needed to have all my revelations over the past like 1.5, 2 weeks, and to actually understand and find my purpose, basically, or the how to, yeah, how to work in the universe, so to speak. What I
Sure.
need to do, I needed to have some clearance about myself, get like my old baggage rid of my shoulders, and now I can do this. But yeah, this is now me talking to you now is basically my first YouTube video.
Sure. Yeah.
And the first
I'm
time,
honored.
oh, no, actually not the first time, the second, third time explaining this to someone. I need to write things down a lot. That's why I'm also having I put the other thing there. That's why I need to have these
Diagrams.
yeah, these diagrams, because what I'm really not good with is numbers and dates. I always
Right.
mix those up and get kind of like, it took me, I don't know, 30 years to actually like kind of remember the birthday of my parents.
Oh wow.
And this
I'm the
was,
same way though too. I mean, writing things down. Piece
because
of
these are
advice for anybody
details,
watching. Write
and I
everything
don't
down.
give a fuck about details. So I know they
Yeah.
exist. I know they have been born, and that's the cool thing. So do you see actually my mouse?
Yeah, I see your mouse. I see your mouse.
Oh,
Yes.
that's perfect. So down here at the bottom, yeah, we have these 13 segments, and we have the first day, the first night, the second day, up to the 7th day. These are literally the 7 days of creation in the Bible. But
Right.
the Mayas were dividing time by 13. So what we call a year, for example, they would divide by 13 into 13 months. Each month would be divided into 13 weeks. Each week would be
Right.
divided into 13 days, 13 hours. And this works like 9 times. And the smallest scale is that you have each individual moment divided by 13. And why 13? Because each individual moment is divided into, do you also see my screen, my camera?
Yeah. Yep. It's just smaller. It's just a little bit
Okay,
smaller.
yeah, that's good. Each individual moment is divided into 13 intentions.
Mhm.
That's why the Maya calendar has these 13 intentions.
Right.
Each intention, so every day basically, or depending on on what level of evolution you look at it, each intention, or let's say each day that we have, where every day in our terms also has a purpose. And there are 260 different combinations of what intention paired with an aspect each day can have. So after 260 days, this calendar restarts basically. And that also means there are 260 different types of people. Because
Okay.
every person is born with a specific intention and aspect. And every 260 times this happens, it starts from the first intention paired with the first aspect. So that's why so many people are alive, and why also chances that you have in your family and in your circle of friends and whatever, there are 260 different unique personalities basically that you can have around you. So chances that the 10 people that are very close to you are all identical are very close, are very like impossible basically.
Right.
Because they all would have to be born on the same day at the same time, and that's doesn't happen. So
Wait, repeat that last part again. Can you repeat that last part again? I'm sorry. You said
chances that like too many people around you are identical are near zero, because they would all have to be born on a day that has the same intention with the same aspect. So that's kind of impossible. That happens on a global scale over all of mankind, that there are so many people that are more or less identical in their intention why they exist and how they live their life, but also because around them are so many different people, and it's always a different time and different opportunities, etc. So there will never be two lives that are identical, but yeah, there are people that are very similar. And we know, look at us, you know, we know this is true, even though we have a different intent and purpose or an aspect in our how we develop and how we function. But this is how it is. This is how the universe works.
Right.
And not only for humans, but also for every living being. And so we have down here these phases of light and these phases of darkness. They call it day and night. The Bible only talks about the days.
Okay, wait. Can you give me 1 second? Hold on, just
Yes,
1
of
second.
course. Every question you have, shoot me.
No. I have to tell my dad something real quick. I just have to yell it over to him.
Go ahead.
I'm sorry. All right, I'm sorry, Benny. I'm ready. I'm sorry.
That's fine. And also for everyone who's wondering, yes, I'm smoking, and I don't give a fuck what you think about it, because it's my life, and I just have to be honest and true about myself and love myself unconditionally. So that's
What? Sorry. I'm sorry.
no apologies. It's, you know, you have to do what you have to do.
I'm good though. I'm ready now.
Remember how many times I told you don't apologize?
Still. I don't want to ruin the flow, and I don't want to.
But you know, you don't have to, especially not to me.
Well, either way,
so
I don't want to interrupt the flow, and I don't want to.
No, that's fine.
When you're not trained or whatever. So, but yeah, continue. I'm here.
Again, this is our first video. Basically, it's like uncoordinated and you know, but we're
figuring things out. We're figuring things out. But yeah,
and it's also you know, it's honest. That's how we are. We're not making shit up. And who doesn't want to see it, just go fuck off.
Thanks.
So these are the 7 days and nights, or the 7 days and 6 nights, because the Mayans divided time by 13. And you see this this yellow colored column, basically. This is the 5th day. This is where all living beings came into existence. If you, so I explain, I take this diagram to explain like basically 2 things simultaneously. One, what Ian Zerlangold explains very detailed in his presentation. That's why go and watch it. But what I realized is, so I start with this. You have down here on the bottom left at the beginning, this first row is, or what this represents, what he says is, it's the 9 levels of the evolution of consciousness. And this is why the Maya pyramids look like this. Basically, they all have 9 levels, or the important ones that represent this. And so it starts at the bottom. It's the cellular underworld, or this is also these 9 underworlds the Mayas were talking about, where archaeologists think, oh, when they wanted to live forever or whatever, they had to go through these 9 caves and all this nonsense. This is not what it means. These underworlds are basically the process that evolution has to take to become aware of itself, to realize what it was about that it learned.
I think it's important to emphasize that as well, that is the purpose of, because people will see this, something like this, and they'll be like, okay, so like, what is this really trying to convey, or what is the end goal of this?
This is
right?
Our personal.
What?
And
I'm sorry, Benny. I'm sorry. All right, never mind. My brother just knocked on my door. I'm sorry, guys. I'm recording something. I'm recording something. I should have told them this ahead of time. I don't know why.
Yeah, it's fine.
All right. Are you guys good? Okay, I guess that means you're good. Whatever. I didn't get a response, but they're running around out there. All right, go ahead. Continue.
It's fine. If my kids were alive, the same thing would awake.
Alive. Thank God they are alive. Okay. Knock on wood, right?
So every life starts, he called it the Big Bang, but it's not the Big Bang, not in terms of how the astronomers want to like convince us that there was this Big Bang.
I'm listening. Sorry.
Okay. No, it's fine.
They're probably downstairs then. I don't think I have them in here. All right. Sorry about that. But yeah, I was also going to ask you that earlier as well, because I know you do not agree with the conventional idea of the Big Bang.
So the universe has this beginning, like every of our lives has a beginning.
Right.
So it wasn't a Big Bang, or you can say it was a Big Bang because when your parents made you, it was a Big Bang, you know, in the most literal way. So, or maybe not, maybe it was kind of boring and it just happened.
Yeah, it could have been, yeah, for sure.
But yes, but also what on this metaphorical term, basically, there was kind of an electricity between you and your parents, right?
Spark.
This
spark.
Energy, the spark of life.
Right.
So, now you could say, yes, if there's a lightning bolt, it also makes a Big Bang. But it was not it's not this kind of physical explosion that like Einstein and all of these people try to convince us happened, but so infinity has always been there. So the universe wasn't like this nothing and then it exploded and now that's what it is. But infinity has always been there. This is also, you find this explanation if everyone wants to know, if anyone wants to know, read the Law of One. It's written in detail how it happened, and it's basically the only explanation that really makes sense. The difficult thing is for us humans to wrap our head around something that has always been there. Because, and everybody who thinks Einstein is right, as Terence McKenna says, they also need this one wonder, you know, because how can nothing, for no reason, explode into the universe?
Right, yeah.
So it doesn't matter what physics you apply to it or what theory or hypothesis you want to take, you need to have this concept of infinity that's always been there.
I mean, the Big Bang doesn't, even with the conventional idea of the Big Bang, it still wouldn't explain the beginning of the universe.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? Because there's always
this one wonder of that the Big Bang can happen.
Exactly.
Especially if it's the singularity that's basically, or this, it wasn't even a singularity in the beginning. In the beginning, given like in terms of conventional astronomy, there was nothing in the beginning, and nothing exploded for no reason. So doesn't make sense if you don't have this concept of something of infinity that has always been there. In
Exactly.
the one, it says, or Raad, how he explains it, is that because infinity has an infinite amount of time before the universe basically began, it had an infinite amount of time and infinite amount of possibilities.
Right.
So at one point, the inevitable happened and infinity became aware of itself. That's basically the Big Bang.
Right.
And since then, the evolution is happening. And we all agree that this is exactly what's happening.
And as you mentioned before, that evolution is leading back to a place of, I guess, I don't know, how would you explain it? Right? That the reason it started evolving was to stretch out back into a place of, I guess, concrescence or true awareness, universal awareness of itself, I guess, right? Or I don't know.
Yes, and to get to the next level, basically.
Exactly. Yep.
So because this is the process all of mankind is in, and each of us individually finds himself.
Right.
So and how this building of awareness, let's say, or this increase in consciousness happens, is what this diagram is talking about.
Yeah.
So right after the Big Bang, the first cycle, or these are also these Maya cycles, basically. This is the Maya calendar.
Yeah.
But like 2012 and all of these Hollywood movies are talking about, or but yeah, let's say they made shit up. The universe doesn't end, or didn't end in 2012, and the Maya calendar didn't end, so to speak. What happened is that at this point, all of that's the very top part here.
Yeah.
This is where basically the basic process of going through all individual cycles and intentions and aspects is finished once for the first time, basically. And because this diagram, or because Irngzel Langold died like a while ago, that's why this is these time frames we're talking about now is something the Mayas already invented like 5,000 years ago.
Right.
So this is nothing that we came up with, but this is their calendar. This is how it works. He talks about this. There was like this big statue, so to speak, that was buried in the ground. And when they discovered it, the archaeologists, like, I don't know how many years or decades ago, there were these Maya glyphs on it and nobody could read it. And they took like a charcoal rubbing. And because of the deciphering of the Maya glyphs, we can now read it. And what was written on it were dates. Dates from the beginning of time to whenever the Maya civilization stopped existing, basically.
So I don't know if you explained this already. Do you know anything about how they were able to find this stuff out, or how they were able to calculate?
I'm pretty much convinced, based on my own experience, that they tripped really hard.
Yeah, I would be inclined to.
Mushrooms were at the center of the civilization.
Yeah.
In the Amazon jungle, or I mean, the Mayans were on Yucatan, like Guatemala, and this is Mesoamerica, or how it's called. And you have psychedelics like crazy in this area, especially let's say a few thousand years ago. It's the same thing that the shamans say when you ask them how they let's talk about ayahuasca, DMT.
Right.
If you ask the shamans, how could you, from all the 200,000 different plant species in the Amazon jungle, combine these two
Oh
in
yeah.
this weird way of if you look it up, how ayahuasca is produced or how, cooked or boiled or whatever, what's necessary to do this. How did you come up with it? They say, yeah, well, spirit told us.
Guided them, yeah.
And if
Yeah.
you then think about that, the mushroom is already complete and perfect. You don't have to prepare it somehow to eat it or whatever. You just take it and eat it. Then yes, they were tripping so fucking hard on mushrooms that the mushroom told them, you can also take this plant and this plant, let's say, and they did, and then they had ayahuasca and they had even more revelations. And through this process, because this kind of channeling and becoming aware of the unknown is exactly what, and not only in the past 1.5 weeks, but I had my first mushrooms with 14. And then we talked a lot about like the acid trips that me and also you had. And
yeah.
think about how the knowledge from the or in these trips reveals itself. It makes total sense that this is how they came up with all of this.
Yeah, I mean, and for anybody that may
They trip
disagree,
like once a week, they trip like every fucking day.
yeah, exactly. And for anybody that may be watching that is not familiar as much with psychedelics or doesn't have any psychedelic experience, I mean, from my personal experience, right, I could easily say that I'm not surprised if psychedelics were the case, which I would be more inclined to believe that as well, right? That they did conjure up something like this, or think of this idea with psychedelics. You don't even have to look at our experience. You can look at a lot of the great things in the world. A lot of great ideas, inventions came through the use of psychedelics.
Yes, and also the absolutely fundamental intuition. If we would
Exactly.
pay more attention to our own intuition,
Mhm.
and also it's the same thing happens with like if you actually meditate,
Right.
and because we now, or science is getting more and more into this, that DMT is produced by the brain.
Right. Yeah.
So
100%.
it's basically the same. It doesn't matter in which way you achieve this. You can meditate like crazy and understand what it's about. And if you then meditate, there's holotropic breathing, where you have basically an LSD trip just by breathing.
Right.
So we
And
took
even if you look,
basically the easy way,
yeah,
which is
exactly.
actually the easy way, because if you take a really high dose of acid, it can absolutely fuck you up for a while. And it needs dedication. It needs a very brave mind, and you need to be very, very bold, to actually go through this psychedelic process or using psychedelics, because a lot of people think this is like, yeah, it's fun to do and not for me. But actually, once you know what you get yourself into taking psychedelics and taking high doses, oh my God, I really, so I haven't taken acid for a while because I'm fucking terrified of it. So it's you can't do this lightheartedly. If you do, then it's usually just like how to say, microdosing or on a party or on a festival, but you always try to take a dose where you still function normally in a way. But to actually also, as McKenna says, the heroic dose of mushrooms, that's something that you really have to want to do. It's even then, oh God, even thinking about this, it's, and every time I did it, and every time I still do it, now in terms of ketamine and stuff, it becomes more and more difficult to actually do it.
Wow.
Because it's, yeah, I mean, the result doing it is beautiful. I found myself, I remembered who I am and all of this, but it also caused my environment, my surroundings, the situation with Dani, basically broke apart because I took so much ketamine. But I had to, you know, it was my way of dealing with myself, but on the shoulders of other people a lot. And this is true for most people who take psychedelics and have families and stuff, who don't understand what's happening to you.
Yeah,
That can
yeah.
really, that's why there's always 2 or 3 sides to a coin, actually. You know, you have the heads, the numbers, and then you also have the rim.
Mhm.
And that's the Holy Trinity we always talk about. So
Right.
I will talk a lot in these parables, or you know, the like Jesus does, or the Buddha talks, and all of this, because this is, yeah, they did it because they were at the same point in one point of their life.
Mhm.
If
Mhm.
they existed or not doesn't matter, and this is not a discussion I want to have.
Right.
But even the concept of Jesus basically is a representation of what we're talking about.
Exactly. Yep.
That's why Jesus, the 7th day, has 12 disciples.
Mhm.
Because you have like 13 days. You have,
Mhm.
you know, the 7th day, the Son of God is the holiest of the holy, is the 7th day, the 13th episode, basically, or the 13th, how would you call it? Yeah, and the 7th day.
Yeah.
But the Mayas
13th.
divided by 13. That's why if you only look at the Bible and you only know the Bible, none of this makes sense.
Mhm.
That's why the Bible is all about just believing shit. But once you actually know,
Mhm.
then you see the story of the Bible each and every time, every day, everywhere.
Well, we could even take and we could even look at, you brought up the 13 the 12 apostles, right? And if you look at Jesus, right, his story is an allegory, for me at least, of evolution. It's about
Of course.
transcending culture. You get what I'm saying? I think that can really be, and maybe I don't know enough about the apostles to really say for sure, but you could probably look at them, and all of them were what? They were black sheep in society, weren't they? They were people who were challenging the paradigm.
And they all had a certain intent and aspect to them. And
Exactly, and
we
that's what
can
I'm
do this in like another episode.
right.
Take each individual apostle and check out what he was about, and you will see you wouldn't find a better description given the time that it happened in.
Exactly.
You know, and the same thing is true, and this is something that revealed itself to me in the last 1.5 weeks. The Greek mythology, there are like 12 gods.
Yeah.
You
There
know?
you go.
You have the Roman mythology, there you have 7 gods.
Yeah. Wow.
So it's all the same. It doesn't matter how you look at it. And I'm pretty certain if we look into the Indian stuff,
Yeah.
you probably find, because they have so many more gods. And I'm pretty sure if you would like count all the Indian gods and sub gods, basically, you would end up with exactly 260.
Wow. I didn't even think of that. That's probably crazy. That
And so, but
actually makes
this is something that's just a hypothesis that I just came up with now.
Of course, yeah.
But that's also something that we can look into.
Mhm.
But I'm pretty sure that you have these 7 to 13 main deities. And yeah, but the Indians had like were more into this, basically.
Yeah.
That's why they have a more elaborate version of it.
And on that note, right? Because back to psychedelics, right? Um, on that note, you can even look at the ancient Indians were actually known to be psychedelic users.
Yeah, of course.
Just me calling back to that. So I mean, if anybody has an issue with psychedelics, just look at their entire philosophy. And a lot of I'm pretty sure, like,
And not only the philosophy.
Yeah.
That's something that Stanislav Grof talked about in one of his speeches, where he was talking about his time where he was traveling India and stuff. That they told him that you had datura plants around every temple. And what's Datura? It's the angel's trumpet, how we call it.
Right.
And it's like oh, is Datura actually, what is Datura? Let me
It's a seed. I thought it was a seed of it is some, I don't
Datura.
know.
I don't know if it's Stechapfel or if it's Datura. It's Stechapfel. We call it the Datura stramonium. Wait, I
While you're looking for that, I also wanted to mention, Brian Murarescu, right? I can't pronounce his name properly.
yeah, exactly.
But he also did his
Plants,
research on Soma, and he
you
found
know,
those scriptures. Yeah, wow, yeah, that's a tour.
this
Yeah,
plant
that's
is
exactly.
Datura. So
Yeah.
and if there's like this book about psychedelic plants,
Mhm.
and Datura is one of the strongest psychedelics also we have.
Yeah, I know. People report very intense experiences on Datura, like where they see like, but there are probably a lot of Hindu gods and stuff. Honestly,
Yeah,
really, like
and
Hindus.
something that we talked about also, where I came up with this experiment that we could do, or that would be nice if it could be done,
Mhm.
to have like a group of people that grows up like, or even makes children, and these children grow up with a daily use of psychedelics, so an eternal trip basically. And
Right.
those people would probably start walking among the gods.
Yeah. Well,
And
I'm sure there's a lot of people if you go into like South America. I mean, like cultures that are currently using like psychedelics and stuff like that.
yeah, I mean, literally, if
Yeah.
you talk to people who have taken ayahuasca, they all seen the same fucking mother ayahuasca and all of this. And they
Mhm.
probably, if they could all draw at the same level, or they describe her basically the same way, and
Right.
if you would have 20 people who have talked to mother ayahuasca and they could draw, they would draw the same face.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
And
I
this is
mean, that's just,
exactly also the way how they came up with the 12 Greek gods,
mm,
because the Greeks, back when they had the festival of the Eleusis,
yeah, I know. I was gonna bring that
they
up
were
as well. I
doing
was
the
gonna,
exact same thing. Murarescu, as you said, talks about this.
yeah. Yep.
And
Yep.
this is
Yep.
how they came up with the Greek gods.
Yep. 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 And back to India.
Yeah,
Soma. That's the big one
yeah, of
that's known.
course.
Right? Yeah. And
The
Murray
Somas,
Rescue. That's why I brought up Murray Rescue because Soma read those scriptures. He found those Hindu scriptures in Sanskrit. That stated it's made with barley ergotized rye, which is ergotamine is one
yeah,
one chemical away from LSD, lysergic acid diethylamide.
yes.
So yeah.
And also the mushroom is also called the flesh of the gods. And what is
Yeah.
Soma?
Yep.
Soma is the body.
Yep. Exactly. There you go.
So
There you
that's
go.
why it doesn't matter from what perspective you look at it. And it's also for everybody to understand, we're not like praising psychedelics. And so in a way we do, yes. But we're not trying to convince everyone that you have to take psychedelics. This is not what it's about. It's just trying to make clear that, first of all, psychedelics exist because we can use them.
Right.
And there's, in a way, if you're open to it, there's no difference in the end if you only want to meditate or if you want to take psychedelics. None of that makes you a better or worse human being. It's just everybody has their individual way of approaching this, or finding themselves.
Right.
For someone like me, and this is also, I can talk about this later, it's in my astrological profile basically, that I am working with psychedelics. And I'm keen to over exaggerate with psychedelics. That's why I'm not taking a little bit, I'm taking as much as I can. But there are people who would never do this, and that's
Yeah.
totally fine. So to each their own.
I would like to expand on that. The reason I brought up psychedelics and the reason I'm keen on bringing up psychedelics is because I know a lot of people, especially in America, there's a big stigma against psychedelics and even just drugs in general, honestly.
Yeah, but also you have like stuff like the Johns Hopkins University.
Yeah.
So, and you have legalization of
Of
mushrooms
course, yeah.
in some states. It's where we in Europe are still far away from. even
Yeah.
though also science is getting more and more interested in this here as well.
Right. Yeah.
Because of the benefits for psychiatry or psychological illnesses, or in Great Britain you have the first steps that have been, or the first results, the 100% positive results basically about depression therapy with ketamine.
Exactly.
You also have this in some states in the US, I think, I believe. Not yet
Yeah.
in
No. Yeah.
Germany.
We do. We do. I think it's quite a few states at this point, honestly. The issue is they're just running into a lot of like
And that's,
residual issues with it that they're still trying to work out, especially with things like funding and stuff like that.
yeah, of
You know,
course.
yeah.
Of course, because you really
Right.
need to have this established on a governmental level to actually.
Yeah.
But they are doing the groundwork, the foundational work now.
Yeah.
And I believe it won't take another 10 years till we have this worldwide accepted.
Yeah. I mean, but we're seeing that. You know what I'm saying? At least we are seeing that. You know,
Yeah.
and 10 years really isn't that far off, right? You know.
Yeah, and there's also a reason why I said 10 years. But
Okay. Okay. Going back to this. Yeah. Let's go back to the original topic. Actually. Good.
So let's talk about the diagram again.
Mhm.
You have this yellow column that I said. It's on the 5th day. How many months are you in the womb of your mother from the Big Bang on?
About 9.
About 9 months, right? Now
Yep.
count the days and nights. You have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
You go.
On the 9th day, on the 5th day of creation, you were born. And what did we just read about the 5th day of creation? We have it up here somewhere.
Bible scripture.
Wait, was it here? No. How do I get this?
How do you change it?
Yeah, the creation. And the evening and the morning were the 5th day.
Mhm.
And God said, let the earth bring forth the living creature after his kind, cattle and creeping thing and beast of the earth. And it was so. Yes, because on the 5th day we were born.
Right.
And not only are all the living things, but if you apply this Maya calendar to your own personal, where are you here? Here. If you apply this diagram to your personal life, it works as well.
Benny, I would like to just say, when you brought up the scripture, or whatever, what you're reading from the Bible, it didn't show up on the screen. I'm not sure if that was your intention to have it not show up on
Okay,
the
well,
screen.
it doesn't matter. I just read it
Doesn't
again.
matter. You read it. Yeah, exactly.
You know?
I would just like to say that in case you want to show something next on the
Yeah, I
screen.
forgot to click on share the screen. That's
Yeah, okay,
why
cool.
It was kind of stupid to actually click on the browser. I just could have clicked here in the Zoom bar.
Right.
I
Right.
still have to get used to this. So
It's all good. It's all good.
everyone
Either
forgive
way,
me.
you got your point across. I just wanted to say that.
Exactly.
Good.
So we start with the Big Bang. The first underworld is the cellular underworld. This is where the universe, yeah, basically made the first, let's say, the first atoms and everything. So the foundational building blocks of all that exists today. And this cycle in terms of the universe is 16.4 billion years. That's why the archaeologists back then and anthropoologists couldn't make any sense of it, because why on earth should a civilization that's like in the jungle, you know, have anything to do with a time scale that's 16.4 billion years long?
Right.
It didn't make sense to them.
Any sense to
But
that,
you
yeah.
can also apply this to your own personal life. In my terms, the cellular underworld is 39 years long. Because I'm not dead yet, and these cycles are still running. The Maya, my personal Maya calendar is still unfolding itself, so to speak. It's still running. That's why these years are from the beginning to now, and at the same time, that's why these 13 days and nights are not days in terms, but my entire life from the beginning to now can be divided in 13, or by 13 days and nights. And
So
this yellow portion in the first cycle, yeah, is where the solar system was created, so to speak. But not, and this is also very important. This is not a version of how it's how the Bible people believe it happened, that there was this God that said, oh yeah, let's make the universe. But
Right.
it's the universe creating itself.
Mhm.
It's a process of becoming self-aware and creating out of yourself. So it's how you do it. I mean, your parents made yourself, yes, but they didn't like use their fingers for it, so to speak. They didn't take a lump of something and then put you through you like on the ground and said magic and you were there. But you know,
Yeah.
I'm not talking about this kind of God. If I say God, that's a literal person. But God, oh, that's something that I should, that's very good. And I told this to you earlier, like long ago, that the God in the Bible, if you look at the description of God, it's the Alpha and the Omega. It's in all things. It, you know, like the temple of God is in everyone.
Yeah.
So
The
what
kingdom of heaven is within you. Yeah.
what kind of concept could we apply to this? What, not who is God, but what is God?
Right.
And
Well,
you
are you asking me? Were you genuinely asking me, or is that
yeah,
just?
I'm asking you and everybody out there. Like think about it. Let this sink in for a moment. If you have something that's everywhere and in everything and can be everything basically, and that's why, for example, or another side note, that's why the electric universe is the most sense-making concept or thing that we can apply to this portion of the universe that we can actually like see and measure and experience. That the universe is way more weird than we, you know, you have probably also had like your psychedelic trips where you have been in the universe and like the that doesn't look anything like this kind of universe. But what is electricity?
What is electricity?
Yes.
It's what, like energy? It's
Yes,
denser form of light.
how can we like make use of electricity, or let's say in a battery? Why does you have why do you have, if you put like copper and coal in a solution, why is there electricity happening or flowing or however? Because you have a difference in potential.
Yeah.
And if you have a universe that's not existing yet, then it has all potential. And once it's starting to become something, you have less and less potential that it could be whatever, because then you're locking the potential into a certain, like a human being.
Right.
So that's why we also say, if or that's the idea of like Jesus, for example, or once we live up to our potential, we are like gods.
Yeah.
All these phrases that describe this stuff is actually, we are talking about this our entire life. We are naming it, we're giving it this exact name, what it actually is, but nobody understands it. Well, only a minute few people.
Well, I think it's common for us to personify God in this weird way, right? Like you said, it's not
because we are persons.
Exactly. And honestly, with my experience with psychedelics, it kind of makes sense why early ancient civilizations love to personify God, because they were probably seeing that they are God, you know what I'm saying, in this way. So it's like, and You know what I mean? I don't know if that makes any
And
sense,
then
but
the Catholic
yeah,
Church came and fucked it up, basically.
exactly. They made it into something completely different, completely materialistically, I
Yeah.
guess. Yeah, but whatever.
Yeah,
Right.
but also because of the corruption that happens, because
Right.
what was the Catholic Church known for? Bringing the Gregorian calendar to the world.
Right.
That removed all the Maya stuff, that removed the purpose from each and everybody's life, and made people live in fear. So
Right.
basically what the Catholic Church and this version of the Bible and the Gregorian calendar represents is, so to speak, the Dark Age.
Right.
Because that's when it all, when was that you had to pay taxes for the church and all of this, and you could like pay the church to be freed of your sins and all of this shit. It happened in the Dark Ages. That's why it's called the Dark Ages.
Yeah, I mean, even if you interpreted their version of the Bible for yourself, they would burn you at the stake, burn your book, right?
Yeah.
And
that's
that's
why we have been told we should not have knowledge, we just have to believe. Because if you just believe and you don't know shit, then you can believe everything.
Exactly, yep. And you're easier to program, you're easier to control.
And what do people mostly believe? That all of their wealth, all of their money is actually owned by the church. And if they want to be good citizens, then they have to give everything to the church. That's what people actually believed, and some still believe.
Right.
And this is what it was all about. And so back to this, we have the gray box right after the yellow box is talking about a certain event that was the result, or that followed right after that you're being born, basically.
Right.
So in this cellular underworld, in the Maya calendar, on the 5th day, the solar system came to existence. And right after this, you had this meteor bombardment, where you had chaos, so to speak, where everything that has been learned so far came into existence properly, and then kind of went through this dark phase, so to speak, in the 5th night, because you have the day is the light phase, where something very positive happens, and then you have the dark phase where it all goes to shambles, basically.
Right.
And then in this 7th day, and what do we say about how the creation in the Bible existed? On the 7th day, God basically leaned back and said, I don't give a fuck anymore. Just watched it happen,
Right.
So, and this is exactly what's happening right now to the earth.
It's crazy to think about, actually, when you put it in this, when you plug it into this diagram. It's really mind-blowing. We didn't even get into it, really, the next levels, right? That's when it really starts getting
when I'm here at the top, I tell you how this applies to my own personal life, then you will see how much fucking sense this makes. And I'm explaining it the way I explain it, with all of these side notes, because it's a bit confusing, maybe. So if you want to have a very only talking about this diagram version, watch the presentation of Ian Zell-Langott. I'm trying to put in all the different things that he didn't talk about, because either he was unaware of it, how it connects to all of these different religions and philosophies and everything. And this is what I understood, what revealed itself to me due to my life, basically.
Right.
So you see here on the 7th day, this box that it said this is where the first higher cells develop. Maybe so the first like organized living beings, basically, like the first microbes and all of this,
like single-celled multicellular organisms, I guess, right?
And each of these days and nights in the cellular underworld is 1.26 billion years long. So that means now we go to the second cycle.
Okay, wait, Benny. Before you start this one, can I use the bathroom real quick? And just so you know, we can always edit before we post this. We can edit out the spots that are
Yeah,
like.
I know. It's not live
Just
stream.
all right, okay. I'll be right back. I just gotta take a whiz.
Yes, go.
Whew, how's it going? All right, I'm ready whenever you are.
Yeah, give me a second.
Take your time. Take your time.
Yeah, welcome back.
Thank you for having me back.
So, exactly. Where was I?
We're
So,
on the next, the first
you're,
animals.
you're seeing the
Valuable.
second cycle, the second step of the pyramid is 820 million years long.
Right.
Which fits neatly. This whole cycle is started here at this white line.
Mm.
So the beginning of the seventh day starts the next cycle. And if one day, this whole seventh day is 1.26 billion years long, and the next cycle is 820 million years long, then this whole cycle fits into this seventh day.
Okay, so I have a question real quick.
Yes?
Is there a version of this diagram? I don't know if I've seen. I feel like you might have shown me one a while ago, where it's just like a line instead of. You get what I'm saying? Instead of like a pyramid, I guess. You know what I mean? Like that would probably be pretty cool. I feel like maybe even easier to understand for people if they were able to.
Yeah,
we were
there's
able to.
well, we could use, but this is like a very bad resolution. I haven't find a better one.
Yeah, because it's probably small, right? It's probably like very zoomed
Yeah.
out.
So that's the thing. I'm working this out. I'm
Right.
remaking this diagram, but I didn't finish it yet. We can
Yeah.
also have this conversation at a later point again.
Exactly. Yeah. Sorry for interrupting.
Or I make maybe I make a version of it when, because what I want to do is, and this is probably when this happens, with Sophie in their human design groups, etc. Once they got to know me a bit, I want to have this basically this identical presentation to what Ian Langold did, but in German.
Mm.
And when I talk about this in German, then I will have like my own slideshow where
Right.
I organize this a bit differently so it becomes more obvious and crystal clear resolution, everything. This is because I need to get this out. I wanted to talk to you about this because it's.
Oh yeah, I was just saying. I also just brought that up
to speak it out.
Yeah, I also just brought that up to just sort of anybody who is watching, if you want to perceive it that way, as in, especially since you just brought up the last that white line right there, that is where the next cycle starts. Perceive it that way, essentially, as in the long timeline of
exactly. Oh, and what you also see, there's always this a day followed by night.
Exactly.
But there are only 6 nights and 7 days. So after a light phase, follow the light phase. That's why if you have the first day, or if the 7th day starts simultaneously the next first day, then of course you need to have a light phase overlapping a light phase.
Right.
A day is starting a day, of course. you
There you
know,
go.
most literal way. You don't have a night while you have a day.
I get you.
That's why you have like 7 days and 6 nights.
6 nights, right?
And so this where this white line is, the 7th day starts the next cycle, and every next cycle always fits into the 7th day of this cycle, of the following cycle.
Oh wow. Okay, all right, I get you. Wow, okay.
So
I
you
got
have
you.
a cycle starting a cycle starting a cycle, and it's
Yeah.
all happening in the 7th day because
Mhm.
creation is over. We are
Mhm.
still in the 7th day.
Yeah, and that makes sense because it's fractalizing, right? So it's getting
Yes, of
smaller and
course.
smaller, but
And this
also more
also,
complex.
if you look at it this way, you have first cycle is 16.4 billion years, the next is 820 million years, the next is 41 million years. So that's why we experience time as going faster and faster and faster the older we go, the older we
Right.
get. So it's we don't only perceive it for no reason, but it's actually because the evolution of consciousness is happening faster and faster and faster. You're becoming more and more and faster, or potentially aware of more things faster. The older you become, you're bombarded with more and more and more information per day.
Right.
And that's also what Terence McKenna said. You have there was the fall of Rome. This was for centuries, for millennia, the biggest thing that happened. Right now, an event that's on a global scale as important or as impactful as the fall of Rome happens, or when he was alive, he said it happened like 9 times per hour. And I would say now we have it like 20 times per hour.
Yeah.
Something,
and that makes sense with the internet.
If it's a scientific breakthrough, right, or whatever, or personal things that happen, it's happening faster and faster and faster and faster.
Right. Yeah. So yeah,
exactly.
And that makes sense if you take into account for anybody. I'm sorry, for anybody that may be watching. If you take into account, like, with the technology we have, the internet, the fact that we have planes that can fly across it's more interconnectedness essentially, and that leads to there being more events and more things happening within this amount of time. So really, time is kind of moving faster as well. If you really kind of think of it, it depends on how you, but whatever.
But not the time of our little Earth revolving around the sun. That's happening on a steady rate. It's really this awareness that happening, or this evolution of consciousness that's going faster and faster and faster.
Right.
Exactly. So, and on the second level of this evolution of consciousness, what happened here in the beginning was and this is we know this is like a scientific fact, more or less, that 820 million years ago, the first animals came out of the water. Right? Before there were like only fish and all of we as human beings were in the womb. And we couldn't walk, we couldn't do shit. We were just this little baby that was totally not aware of anything that's happening. And this is also something that I realized because of the K-holes, for example. It's being said that the eyes are not developed and the baby doesn't see. Every baby sees perfectly well. Only not if like it has broken eyes, if it's blind or whatever. But for a baby, it sees everything. It sees colors all around it, but these colors don't make sense because it hasn't learned that this brown thingy over there is a cupboard, or this red thingy there is a carpet. And
even one step further, it doesn't even know what the names of colors are. So it's not even saying red thingy or brown thingy. It's just completely blank. Yeah, exactly.
Without meaning, without anything.
Categorization, labeling. It doesn't have a labeling platform. It doesn't have any way to categorize things for whatever. Go ahead.
Exactly.
Till it learns. But yeah.
Because is this actually written in here? I have to wait. This is now I have to wait. I have to on the other tab. I have to quickly open this here. Actually, I do have to use this. That sucks. Why is this? Let me open this here. No, see, this is where I would need to use Facebook. I don't want to. Give me a second.
Take your time. Take your time. And just so you know, we're still on this chart. On the
Yeah,
screen,
I know.
and you know.
Just on this other chart is where I can see the. So I open this for me, and I just need to talk about this. So, oh wait, I open this. No, this is like this. I want to save the picture because that's very blurry. But that doesn't matter. I just do it like this. No, why is this so? This is annoying sometimes.
What's wrong? What's happening?
Because in this other diagram, which is very like, it's only 640 by 430 resolution, so it's really. Do I have this on this one? Let's see. Open a new tab. Here I can see it maybe. Yeah, this is perfect. So
I can see on my screen. I can see the. Are you talking about on this this main diagram?
In this, I open this one.
Got you.
Because here we can see something very interesting. Wait, let me see how this one. Do you now see this other diagram?
Yep. Yo, Benny, also, just so you know, you can also write on the screen as well. If you look at the bottom left, there's an annotate button. Just in future, if you want to circle something or underline something, there's an annotate button in the bottom. You see what I'm saying?
The bar at the top, but it's fine.
Yep. Okay.
So we now see, that's also, it says the other things. That's perfect.
Wow, that's cool.
You have like each day also is labeled in this diagram. You see the states is the initiation, then the activation, the expansion, connection, anchoring, application, etc.
Wow.
So,
and I'm sure you can plug this. Hold on, I'm sure you can plug this into many processes in
all processes.
That's what I mean. Yeah, that's what. But like, and
the absolute. This is how the universe works.
Exactly.
All our own universe, and it even applies to the house you're living in.
Right. I think it's important to emphasize that, Benny. It's important to emphasize that to the viewers.
This is applying to each and everything because we are all. I also say this a lot. We are not human beings in the universe. We are the universe as human beings.
There you go.
So and this is the house you're living in is the universe as a house.
Yep.
It's once we get through this, and you maybe you trip on this or so, you will start recognizing the way your apartment or your house or whatever is set up. How you live in it is a direct representation of this diagram.
Yeah. Well, I think also back to the point of, I mean, it's also just kind of common sense, right? Like, what isn't the universe that doesn't exist in the universe? It all came from the universe. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's all made of the same energy that came from the universe. It's primordial energy that existed since the beginning.
Even phrase it better. It didn't came from the universe. It's the universe.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm trying to say. But I'm trying to explain it in a way that a more materialistic person might try to, or more, I guess, not materialistic, but more so, I guess, separated, like, individualized, categorized perspective.
Remember this movie where they had these aliens that showed us this new language? I forgot how it was called.
It's a newer one, right? It's kind of like came out within the past few years.
Not new, but the latest cool alien movie we had, where these giant ships.
I didn't see it, but I know what you're talking about. I know what you're talking about. Yeah. And the lady has to interpret it or whatever. She has to
Yeah,
decipher
exactly.
it.
Where
Yeah.
these aliens were talking in these circles, basically.
I didn't see the movie. I didn't see the movie, but I know what you're talking about.
It's a very good movie. It's because they had like one line that was, if you understand it, makes totally sense, and I know you understand it. The language you are using dictates your consciousness. That's why I'm so that's why I'm so definitive and that we use the right phrasing for it.
Yeah,
for example, that we're not human beings in the universe, or there's nothing that came out of the universe, so to speak, but it's all within the universe. It's all, you know, it's all creation, but also not in terms of how creationists would phrase it. There was this God and he created the universe. It's the universe creating itself.
Right.
That's how you create your own life, basically. The things you're interested in, Ian Zellangert had also a very nice sentence for this. He was talking about what is consciousness. And he put it in a way that I really, really like. Consciousness is the awareness of being aware. And that's something that I think we can all agree on, where if you're a scientist, if you're a religious person or whatever, that's a phrase or a concept of consciousness that makes sense. And why we all have kind of a different consciousness, so to speak, a different individual consciousness, because awareness grows where attention flows. You know, you have your attention on different things than I do. That's why people can talk about their own truth, so to speak. But what they are really actually talking about is their own personal level or amount of consciousness.
Yeah.
Fractalized from the big whole. So, and if all of human beings, what the things that are really aware of and come together and talk about this, then we would have a very big summary of what consciousness can be, that's so to speak, or the potential of it. So back to this, I go back to the first cycle again, to the first 16.4 billion years. The cellular, where matter came into existence, and each cycle has a product, what the cycle became aware of. And the first or how it worked, basically. The first cycle is pure action reaction. You know, that's why we have like physics coming, where something bumps into something and you have an action and a reaction. That's why you have babies. They are hungry, they cry. Right?
Good example, yeah.
That's why even in later lives, because this cycle is still running in the background, if you get punched, you're hurt. You know, without you thinking about it. It's you bump your head somewhere on a hard corner or so, and it hurts.
If you look at this from like a ancient alchemical standpoint, right? They explained that one of the laws of the universe, one of the 7 principles, is cause and effect. There's a exactly, you know what I mean? So, but yeah,
this is exactly what they mean,
right?
Because it's the foundation of everything. You know, everything first of all has an action and a reaction,
and that's the concept behind karma. You know what I mean? Exactly. Yeah. So,
but then you can, and karma also has different levels to it in terms of what you put into your karma pool, so to speak.
Right.
And the reasons you have for it. And this is this is becoming more and more clear the higher we get up this pyramid. So the second cycle, these 802 million years, which I don't know exactly when this, also for in my life, for example, the cycle should be when did it begin? So my first cycle began on the 25th of October 1983. My second cycle, where the mammalian cycle, because what are we all?
Mammals.
Mammals. So, but what is one of the aspects of a mammal? So what makes the difference between a mammal and a fish?
Well, mammals, they're typically on land.
Yes, and
Oh,
what also
oh,
makes
it's a level of consciousness. It's a different degree. It's a different degree of consciousness. Even the mammals that are in water are smarter than most of the fishes, like dolphins, whales, right? Are whales
yes,
mammals?
that's one thing.
Yeah.
And in terms of human beings, this is when we start crawling, when we start using our legs and hands.
Yeah. Yeah. I was gonna mention that, but that was yeah.
You know,
Wait,
and
sorry, what did you
the
say?
day where you first started doing your first, like you got on your knees and you could move on your own, basically, you were not just flowing in the water like a fish,
Right.
but or like a bird, for example. It's also the Native Americans have a saying that a bird doesn't fly, he's being flown by the wind.
Mm.
And that makes the difference to a mammal. We have this consciousness that we can decide where we want to go.
Right. Right.
So
I mean, and it's probably more complex on a lot of ways, right? Like even if you think of sound, right? Sound travels way differently on land than it would in water, right? So we probably, you know what I mean?
yes,
Like,
and if you think about these energetic waves, you have sound
right.
waves, you have light is everywhere. That light doesn't travel even. They are like I forgot the name of these scientists, but they were there was one video I saw like 20 years ago or so, or at the very beginning of YouTube. He was talking about light. That's why space is dark, because light doesn't travel.
Right.
Even if we can kind of measure, if we put a laser pointer to the moon and then we can calculate how long it takes, etc. Light as such doesn't travel.
Right.
It's a scalar wave. And so
scalar wave is so
it's a scalar wave. A scalar wave means that you
electromagnetic.
don't like in the water, in the ocean, where you throw a stone and it ripples, it makes these waves.
Right,
but a scalar wave is like infinite and everywhere, and if you change the wave at one point, the whole field basically changes.
Right. Okay. I get you.
Instantly.
Yeah.
And
I get you. I'm trying to, because people will hear light doesn't travel and they'll get triggered, right?
Yeah,
so I'm trying to
let them get triggered.
Yeah, true.
If they are true to themselves and they get triggered by shit like this, then your responsibility is to do your own homework. You know, don't believe anything I say, but sit down and actually learn.
Right.
You know, because only then you can know.
And learn it for yourself. When he says learn, don't listen to, you don't have to listen to Benny, you don't have to listen to me, you don't have to listen to scientists, conventional scientists, right? Figure it out for yourself. You can listen to us, but take it all for it.
But don't believe, and also I figured a lot of shit out, yes. But this is all so the things I'm mostly talking about are things that you can't discuss away. In these I don't know how many, these 13 how it's called, this psychological test where you find these, where you get these 4 digit or these 4 letters, you know, that is 13 personalities, or how it's called. It's also, is it 13 personalities? Let me check this out. Was it 13?
Wait, what are you saying? The personality test? Is that what you're talking about? Yeah, it's
yeah, it's 13 personalities. Isn't that odd that it's 13 personalities and not 75?
Right.
You know, if we have 13 intentions and 13 days and nights, isn't that odd that they came up with 13 personalities? I really like this. So where's this picture that I had?
Let me turn this light on. It's getting dark outside now. That is right. Let me see that.
Here. So you're still seeing the black and white diagram?
Yes, sir. Yep.
Great. So and in this 13 personalities, I'm the debatteur. You know, I debate for the sake of debate.
Yeah.
I love
Yep.
debating. I don't need to be right. I'm interested in that the truth is what's on the table in the end.
Right.
Whoever has it, you know, whoever says the truth, I'm happy to learn new things, because all of these things, when I was 13, I had an idea of how the universe was. Then I had my first mushrooms, then I had my first trips. With 28, I had a completely different idea of what the universe is and how it works. Then at one point we got to know each other, and I mean, I more or less, I already had developed a fairly similar concept to what I have now. But what I told you when we first met and what I'm telling now is it's a very more elaborate version, because I have learned from other people.
Exactly.
You know,
Yep.
because I never stopped learning. I never stopped debating, even myself. I sit at home when I'm alone and I'm thinking about if what I think is true or not, or the right thing or whatever, or if I'm lacking some information, then I sit down, I watch YouTube videos. This is what I do every day, the whole day, basically, more or less.
And this is, and that, to that point, right? That's exactly what I'm trying to emphasize, right? And if you look at a lot of conventional science, right? Because people will probably be quick to dismiss people like us, right? But if you look at a lot of conventional science, they don't come to these conclusions, come to their conclusions by doing the same thing. A lot of it is based on things that they haven't experienced themselves, or things that they can't experiment on. You get what I'm saying? Or refuse to experiment on.
So what I believe most of the conventional scientists are lacking is psychedelic experience.
I agree.
How was it the guy who came up with DNA? He was
Francis Crick. Was it Crick? No, was that
yeah, I think he was tripping on acid, and he saw himself as an electron, or as a protein, basically sitting on the DNA spiral.
I heard that.
And he came out of the strip and he said, "Well, I got it."
Yeah, it's Watson and Crick.
Yeah,
that's who it is. Yep.
And
I heard that. I heard that story as well.
Enough. Then we developed like microscopes for this that are precise enough. And look at it, he was right.
And if you even look, okay, if you look at someone like Nikola Tesla, I don't think he's known for using psychedelics, or if he's ever have used he could have, I don't know, but he did say that he would have visionary experiences where he called them extraterrestrials would beam information into his head, and he would see a blinding light, and he would get all these random ideas, right? So I mean, that just goes to show there's more to life than just material, what we can see when we're completely sober, or just in these regular, states of consciousness, I guess. But,
exactly. And we even have this in the Bible. How did Moses come up with the 10 commandments? He was standing in front of a burning acacia. He had the blown DMT trip.
Right. It's right in front of us. It's in all of our things, but we like to overlook it as, oh no, Jesus was the son of God, or Moses was a prophet, so it doesn't apply to them. But really,
but that's what it does,
Exactly. Makes you,
who doesn't want this to be true just doesn't know what they're talking about.
Period.
Exactly.
They probably need to use psychedelics more than anybody, to be honest. So
yes, or shut the fuck up. Don't talk about things that you have not experienced and have. It's the same if I tell people how it feels to jump from an airplane with a parachute. I have no fucking idea. I have never done this.
Right.
Who would I be to talk about this and tell anyone like, oh, this is no, you person who has like 1,000 jumps performed already, you have it's different. It feels different jumping. I have no fucking idea. And it's the same thing if people who have no psychedelic experience tell us that we are not right talking about this, for example.
Exactly.
Or
just like, but not even with just psychedelic, even with what you like, the conclusions you have come to scientifically to explain phenomenon in the universe, or to just explain the universe in general, right? A lot of them, like a lot of what you explain is based off of personal experience or things that can be tested. You get what I'm saying? And that's what I was trying to say. A lot of conventional science is the things that they believe are based in things that they haven't even tested, or you know what I mean?
Let's take, for example, Albert Einstein.
Right.
There's a mathematician or a few mathematicians who actually sat down and looked at the equations for general relativity or special relativity, and they discovered that by actually knowing what they're talking about, because they didn't just hear in physics class or so, yeah, there was Einstein, and now we take this formula and but they actually took each and every variable and looked what it actually, and Stephen Crothers is his name. He's also appearing a lot in the Electric Universe stuff. And he actually sat down, and he has, I linked the video also. And he sat down, and everybody can actually follow this. He's showing where Einstein did his mistake. That Einstein basically divides by 0. And then you have people talking about not only one singularity, like now we have like billions of singularities, which don't make really sense. And then you have like shit like wormholes, so like the movie Interstellar, where they say, oh, this is like, we had this one scientist that helped us, and you have like idiots like here, how's his name? And he's celebrity scientist.
Neil deGrasse Tyson?
Yes. He absolutely has no fucking idea what he's talking about. Really, this is one of the most ridiculous pseudoscientists that I have ever seen in my life.
He's and not to mention,
he's a very good talker.
Yeah.
But he has no fucking idea what he's talking about. Otherwise, he would say what he's saying.
And not to mention, he's an asshole. Like he's arrogant. He's very
well. That's like a follow-up error, basically.
Yeah.
But he doesn't know what he's talking about. Period. In Germany, you have also we have this one scientist. He appears in television. He had like a physics and math show. But even when I was younger, I forgot his name. I will look it up later.
Oh, Sagan? Oh wait, is it German? Is it a German scientist or?
Yeah.
I don't know. There's a lot of those types of people.
The show he made was called Alpha Centauri. Wait.
Wow.
The series Alpha Centauri. No, not the series. The
yeah. Yeah.
Do you see it?
Yeah, I can see him.
This guy is called Harald Lesch. He's curious. Give him that. But he's also presenting bullshit as fact.
Yeah.
And even though science has advanced so much, especially in terms, let's say, for the electric universe, the discoveries, etc., he's more and more having no fucking clue what he's talking about.
Yeah. And I mean, that's the issue, right? It's sort of like we're still, and you're kind of the one who showed me this, not kind of, really, you are the one who showed me this, right? Science is still sort of, and this is repeated throughout history, right? We always like to hold on to things that we think we knew, because it's hard to, especially when you're old, right? It's hard to really, absorb new ideas, or, drop old ideas to adopt new ones, right? So yeah, I mean, if you look at every great paradigm shift, it came from one person or a couple people questioning the paradigm and really, you know, sacrificing their own reputation and their own, you know, character
Yeah,
in other people's eyes.
but what's worse?
Mhm.
Losing your reputation because
Mhm.
people find out you were talking shit,
Mhm.
or actually keeping your reputation because you're not talking like I do. What I say to people,
Mhm.
even if it sometimes hurts or whatever, is
Right.
the I'm or I'm the debatteur, yeah, and
Mhm.
I don't give a fuck who's right.
Mhm. Mhm.
Debate out of principle.
Mhm. Exactly.
Why do we have wars on Earth? Because people don't do the good thing, the right thing, the seventh day, the light, out of
Mhm.
principle. I would, even if my ego, yeah, is in the line or is under attack, basically, or I would have to step down from my position or whatever. If it would be the right thing to do out of principle, I would do it, no
Right.
matter what.
Right.
Let's say, and a lot of people will get triggered now. We will never have peace. Let's say the Ukraine war. It doesn't matter who started. That's something also that I taught my kids from the first day on, when they had like little fights in kindergarten or whatever.
Mhm.
It doesn't matter who started the war. It matters who ends it.
Right.
By doing the right thing, by being love, basically.
Mhm.
We will never have peace in Ukraine as long as people say we have to win.
Mhm.
We have to love each other. Let Putin have the Ukraine. Who gives a fuck what shit fucking label is or what name this country has or whatever? Because if they don't stop, then there will not be any people who can like live in peace anymore.
Yeah. And Ukraine will be left in this. It would be a shell of what it once was. Either way.
Yeah, but
So by this point,
and if Ukraine is done,
Mhm.
and those forces that love to fight, basically, you know, or that don't love to fight, but they fight for some personal advantage or national advantage over the other, which
Mhm.
country will be next?
Yeah.
Right? This is not saying that it's the war that's happening in Ukraine, the people that have died, the houses that have bombed, is absolutely terrible.
Yeah.
Every war that we are fighting on this earth, the personal wars we have in our families, the wars that we fight with ourselves, because we cannot understand or do not live unconditional love. What
Right.
would Jesus do? Now we get to what how was his name? Yay, Kanye.
Kanye West. Yeah.
Let's everybody who is thinking that Kanye is like an idiot or a Nazi, you're all fucking idiots. He's
Yeah. Exactly.
the principle of love. It doesn't matter who is in front of you. If you don't love this person or this existence of this person out of principle, then you're doing the opposite of what Jesus would do, and you're actually the one who is causing wars.
Mhm.
On a
And
smaller scale, on this scale of internally within yourself, and on this global scale.
Mhm.
This is what Kanye was talking about.
Well, it's the issue. It's like you said earlier, right? The issue is, and this applies to anything really. The issue is it's ego, it's pride, right? It's what we take pride in. It's, you know, we would, you know, Jesus is a great example because he was able to put his pride aside even while he was getting nailed to a cross by his own murderers. He said, "What? Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do." Right? And it's easy for people to dismiss that, right? Because
Yeah,
whatever, it was Jesus, it was Jesus, right? But how much people, and even with that, he changed the entire world. How many people are saved every day by Jesus's teachings? How many, you get what I'm saying?
Yes, but that's
Just that.
also a thing. So many people say it, but they don't live it.
Exactly. Yep. 100%. 100%.
Because they don't understand that it's not something that you say, it's something that you have to do out of principle.
Right.
And
Right.
not because your ego tells you otherwise or whatever. But
Mm-hmm.
unconditional love is a principle. It's the foundation of the universe.
Mm-hmm.
That's why the universe can, or you have Shiva, for example. Why is Shiva the creation and the destruction simultaneously?
Because, well,
because
go ahead.
it's not about the destruction and the creation or whatever. It's about the principle that you do the right thing, and sometimes you have to destroy things to create new things.
I mean, you could argue that any form of creation requires some type of destruction. You get what I'm saying? Like, if you
Yes,
really
of
think
course.
about it, you know, in order to make something into something new, you have to transform it and tweak it and take some things away from it, add some things to it. You know what I'm saying? Everything that, like, in many ways, right? And this goes back to our whole philosophy. Everything is one. Creation is destruction.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? So, like, yeah,
That's
whatever.
why also, for everyone who just got triggered, I'm not defending Putin. I'm defending love. Putin could have also said, yeah, well, NATO here, you can have my Russia. I don't give a fuck. It applies the same logic on all scales. Every soldier on the Russian or on the Ukraine side or on the European side, they could all right now immediately, instantly say, no, we don't fight anymore. And it doesn't matter what Putin says or what Biden says or whatever. They would be powerless if the people who are fighting these wars wouldn't do it.
Well, okay, we could, like, there's always you can really bring this up in so many examples, right? There's an ancient age-old saying, right? Never fight fire with fire.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
Like, people just completely ignore these rules that we all know. You get what I'm saying? Like, and this is what's leading to all these wars. This is what's leading to so much disorder, right? You can even look at, and there's people like to act like there's no examples of this, but look at people like Gandhi, look at people like Jesus, like Buddha. They never fought these wars with violence. They never fought these wars as wars. They fought these wars with peace. You know what I'm saying? And with that, they changed the world to this day.
It could cost them their lives.
Exactly. Yeah. And sometimes, you know, that's what you got to do, right? And that is what love is, right? Love gives, right? And
it's not the love, and that's also very important to understand. It's not the love that you have for someone else, because that a lot of time turns into like a betrayal.
Yeah.
Or a deception that you like you know, a honeypot situation where you pretend to love someone until you don't.
Yeah. It's a
love itself. The principle that I do the right thing no matter what. That's the love I have for myself, the respect I have for myself. If I cannot do the right thing, how can I expect anyone else to? That's why I'm a peaceful person. Now, I had my wars in my life, of course. That's the evolution of consciousness. I have lived in a full action reaction. You know, I didn't think about this. But the more my consciousness developed, I became aware of what unconditional love actually means. That it's not about someone else, but about myself. A little side note. What's Zeus, yeah? The Greek god. No god had any power over him. The only thing that had like power over him were his own children. Those were the only ones who could show him what love really means. Because the other ones were all corrupted and fighting their own wars. But children are pure. All children. And if we realize that mankind is also like children, and every grown-up in one way or another has children, even if it's not a human child, but a project you have. That's why we call, oh, that's my baby, you know? The stuff your heart is beating for. And you will protect this no matter what, out of love. And if you then apply that you don't harm anyone or anything, meaning it doesn't matter if your baby is like the NATO, for example, you know, if this is your heart project, and to live up to your or to actually work with that project, you would have to destroy or whatever, or deny the free will and the unconditional love of other people, then you didn't understand the concept at all.
Right.
We have to start with ourselves first, love unconditionally, no matter what, even if someone is beating you to death, because we are all infinite. It's I know most people, or a lot of people, or maybe even less people than I imagine, maybe a lot of people who watch this fully agree with me, who knows, or with us in that situation, that yeah, it's about us each, as Michael Jackson was singing, you know, if you want to make a change, start with the man in the mirror.
Yeah.
That's what he was talking about.
Mhm.
And he stuck
I
to
have a
it,
question.
though he got dragged through shit. Right?
I have a question.
Yes.
So what would you do then? What would you do if someone was beating you up or someone pulled a gun on you? Do you believe that you have
In a situation like this, I was sitting in back then in Bad Harzburg. We were all sitting in the park, and we had this guy, no names here, but he was the guy who was like on all these yearly celebrations, like the Easter fire or all these community fests. He was beating people to the hospital. He got drunk, he was beating people, and everybody was afraid of him. So he got away with it usually.
Wow.
And then it happened that we were like a group of, I don't know, let's say 20 people sitting in the park, like chilling in summer, all people from our school. And he came and said to me, and he was wearing these Buffalo plateau boots. It was that time back in the 95 or whatever. And he was kicking me here in the back where, you know, where we call it Milz. What's this organ that's there?
The kidney? In the
No,
in the
not the
lower
kidney.
Where is it? Where is it?
Like the kidneys are here, but the one that's basically here.
Liver, maybe?
No, not the liver.
I don't know.
Wait,
Spleen? Spleen? Pancreas.
I don't know the English word for it. I'm looking it up. Wait.
Go for it.
Milz in English. The spleen.
Spleen, yeah, there you go.
And he was kicking exactly in the spot. And not only once, but he was standing behind me for like, I don't know, 10 minutes or longer. And he was like, yeah, come, I want to talk to you. And continuously kicking my side. And we had people in our group who were about to stand up and like drag him away or whatever. And I said, well, then this will continue. There's only one way, and because that's one of the other levels, that we have one of these cycles that establishes law and punishment, right? I go through this in a second. And he was kicking me and kicking me and kicking me. He even had two other friends, and I knew if I would stand up and go with him around the corner so he can talk to me, he's gonna beat me up like shit. Basically for no reason. He has chosen me, and so he, you know?
Yeah.
But I sat down, and I even had my skateboard. I could have stood up and fully destroyed his face. Right? It's just with a skateboard and the metal axles, you just one punch and he's gone. But then this war would have continued because he would have had his revenge.
Right.
And I don't know what happened with all the other people who were there. It would have been a mass beating, basically. So,
yeah.
But because I didn't want to do it out of principle, because beating someone or violence in this case is not right. So what have I done? Those people from our group that were already like looking at me if I want them to stand up and do something about it. When I said, no, sit down. Let him kick me so much that a doctor can see what happened, that I have evidence. And after 10 minutes or so, I said to one of my friends, she was sitting there, I said, yeah, but what you could do is like call the police. Tell them, because he was like, I don't know if he was high or drunk or whatever, he didn't even realize that we were calling the police, even though I said it loud enough, and he was standing like half a meter away with his face. So, and I told her, call the police and tell them to come like with 2 or 3 cars so they can come to all the entrances of the park. Tell them what's happening and tell them that this is the guy who's always beating someone up. 5 minutes later, because Bad Harzburg isn't a big town. 5 minutes later, you had like the police cars coming into the park, the cops coming out, seeing him, grabbing him, and putting him in the car. And then something basically, so I then was at the doctor, he was checking it out, and it was like it may have been ruptured a bit, the spleen, but I was fine basically. It just had pain for a week or so. And then we had like how is it called when you have to wait, let me check this up.
A court?
Yeah, the court, exactly. And they asked me what I want to have as punishment for him. And I said, well, so he had to pay me like, I don't know, 140 Deutsche Mark, like that's in today's terms, it's like 70 euros or so, as money for my pain, you know?
Right.
But that wasn't the important thing. That was something that the judge was like wanting to have a financial thing on it or something. But
Like a fine.
It is, yeah. And that's so funny. And he got so pissed, or he got so mad about this internally. I saw it in his face. I said, I want him to come like one of the next days to my classroom, bring me a pack of gummy bears, and apologize in front of everyone. This was the fucking worst punishment he could have ever imagined. You know, this because he didn't expect this.
Right.
He didn't
expect, and he's probably right. I said, and he's probably a very prideful person, so it's probably, you know, yes, getting someone to admit fault on that end is, you know,
and then
tragic.
A few days later, it knocked on the classroom door. A cop came in with him on his side, and he was really like with head down, coming to my table, giving me the gummy bears, and mumbled like, sorry. And I said, what? I didn't hear you. And he said, yes, I'm sorry, Benjamin. That blah. I will never do it again. And from that day on, he even more or less became a friend of mine. So not a friend as such, but on parties or whatever, he started talking nice to me. You know, like really, he changed so dramatically internally because he realized that, yeah, or he probably realized that I did the right thing. The energy I put into this relationship was a pure light energy. Because I didn't break my own principle. I didn't betray myself. And if you see a good example, your brain, you know, you have these mirror neurons, etc. Then if you see something that's right happening in front of you, then you're more or less by the universe forced to do it too. And this is the example from my own personal history, basically. Right. Why acting out of love is the right thing to do.
I could probably think of millions of examples in my own life as well, where just acting with grace and acting with love and giving people, not acting out of your passion, out of your anger, right?
Exactly.
Has benefited me. But my only worry is like, I don't know, like that guy wasn't trying to viciously murder you. You get what I'm saying? He was more or less just trying to batter you a little bit, annoy you probably, and obviously hurt you, of course.
Yeah,
But
who knows what would have happened if I would have stood up and beat him?
yeah, but that's my question. What if there was someone that was trying to viciously murder you? What would you do? Would you and you have no time to call the cops or nothing? You're by yourself. Someone breaks into your house or something. He has a knife. He's coming. He's coming. What do? Do you still act out of love in that situation?
Yeah. If
Genuine question.
if I don't have any weapons with me, yeah,
Hmm?
and there's someone coming to viciously murder me, then he's gonna do it anyway.
That's not necessarily true. So you wouldn't defend yourself. You wouldn't defend yourself.
I cannot defend myself if I become my enemy.
Mm. Mm.
Because I'm not defending myself, I'm defending the principle of love.
Mm.
That's more important than my personal life.
Mm.
Because imagine we would all do that.
Mm.
If we all would, and this is the teaching of Thorst, for example, of yeah, the teaching of Jesus. What would Jesus do? What has
I
Jesus
know.
done?
Yeah.
Right?
I know. Yeah. Mm. That's That's really the best example, right?
And that's exactly what I would have done, really. And I'm not making this shit up. It's because I have understood this even in my early childhood already. I had a friend in kindergarten. His name was Christian, and he had a heart failure. So he died at a very young age of, I don't know, 4 or 5 or so. And he was very weak because his heart didn't work.
Right.
And I always like stood up for him, but I never, so if somebody wanted to push him or so, I never pushed other people, but I went in between him and someone who was like trying to be mean to him, and I took the push. Because I was stronger than him. I was like, in general, I'm not a weak person physically. And also I had like this confidence that I'm doing the right thing, that this pushing around didn't hurt me. It hurt me physically, but I knew it was the right thing to do. So I always protected him, but without becoming my enemy, basically. And this has been my principle throughout my whole life. Yes, of course, I also have lived in my shadow and had some rivalries, let's say. I practiced judo for several years. But what is judo? Judo is self-defense without actually hurting your opponent. It's immobilizing them, so to speak, but by using their own strengths against them.
So let me ask you that, right?
Yes.
So do you think it's never a good time to combat violence with a little bit of violence? Like if you can subdue someone, or if you can, you know what I'm saying? I think even, right, like you're saying live out of love, right? Is it possible to hurt someone out of love for them and yourself? You get what I'm saying? For the bigger picture.
It's a difference between attacking someone, you know, and you go in a fist fight and both of them are beating each other bloody.
Right.
But the judo, or like, for example, there were like some videos about some MMA fighters who stopped someone who wanted to like abduct a child or so. Or who wanted to like grope other women or so. What they did is they stopped this attack by locking the person in like a lever or whatever, so they can't move anymore.
Yeah.
this is not hurting them as long as this person doesn't move anymore.
Right.
If you give up and say, okay, that's it, this person would have never used force that could have hurt you. Because they're so strong and confident that they know if they just lock you in and just hold you, for example, this is already, these MMA fighters who do shit like this, and there are enough videos on YouTube about this, they would never use their fist to beat this person. They would never attack the person. The only pain this person could experience is their own rage, basically. Because usually if a guy like this, or even a cop that has you on the ground, as long as it's not a bad cop that puts the knee in your neck or whatever, but as long as they just have you with your arms on your back on the ground, the one shit that hurts you like crazy is your own face banging on the ground because you try to move like an idiot. That's what's actually hurting you. Or because you're trying to, they know how to hold your hands, that, and there are even techniques, even in judo more or less, that you can hold someone in a way that every movement just tightens the grip. And the more you move, the more pain you experience. And this is not the person holding you, that's yourself doing it. So, and this is something that's really, really important to understand. That there's a difference between fighting an offensive fight, that both sides can do, or a defensive fight that's actually about avoiding pain and avoiding violence. As in my case, I have this situation where this guy was kicking me. I also fought, but I increased the size of the battlefield. You know, I didn't fight with the same weapons, basically. But I showed him how this fight is really fought. You know, by using my brain. It's a weapon too.
Yeah. I think that's what makes it, in any facet, right? That is what makes a true warrior, right? A mind that is able to approach, that knows how to approach any situation, really, or
exactly
could figure out how to approach any situation, right? Like if you look at like I don't know, I think that applies to anything, even in a debate, right? Like you need to have a balance. It's you need to have a balance in order to really truly, like, you know, you can always fight fire with fire, right? And maybe that will have some type of effect that could nullify things eventually.
You can fight fire with fire, but you then have to do it really, really smart.
Exactly.
So don't burn yourself. Because, for example, if we have like field fires, you know, like where whole fields or forests burn, you can you have to figure out from where the wind blows, and then you can burn the ground so that the fire stops. That it can't advance further than the fire that you consciously and carefully use to burn a portion of the field, so the whole field doesn't burn down. You know?
And if you look at any great person in the past, or awakened being, right, whatever you want to call them, that's exactly what they did. They knew exactly, they were at a place of such equilibrium, or such balance, right, that they knew exactly how to approach any situation, and they approached it with such grace that they didn't even really have to do much, you know what I'm saying, in order to nullify these situations, right? But yeah, whatever. All right to say. But yeah,
that's a little trip in my history, and I'm pretty sure that everyone, more or less, at one point in his life has been on either one of these sides of the sport.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, from my own personal experience, I could
write
definitely
down in the comments below if you have like similar stories in your life.
There you go. Yeah.
So back to the evolution of consciousness. We were talking about the second cycle, the mammalian cycle. This also has a something that, how does consciousness develop, basically.
Right.
And we again see this in children. The next level of consciousness is about stimulus response. It's in a way an action-reaction system. It has as foundation action-reaction, but stimulus response is about choosing what to do, basically.
Right.
You have stimulus, you're hungry. Let's say the baby is hungry, it cries.
Mhm.
You know, it doesn't even know why. In stimulus response, you become hungry or you see food, but maybe it's not the right time to eat. You want to do something else first.
So there's a degree of, you're trying to say there's more of a degree of free will, or I guess, or like choice.
Yeah, that's where choice and free will, to a degree, comes in effect.
Right. That's when you start seeing.
But he can push you, and you, and you know, if you don't want to fight, then you don't. In action reaction, you may have punched back immediately.
Mhm.
Or somebody has the same toy as you, and if you're still living in, or it's also because this is not on the highest level of consciousness, your response can be a destructive response. But it doesn't matter to you. If your brother had the car that you wanted to play with, then you just banged his head and took the car. Didn't matter to you. And
Right.
if you were asked why, then yeah, I want the car.
Mhm.
Right?
Yeah.
Or he took the car and you said, yeah, well, then I play with something else.
Mhm.
Who cares?
Mhm.
So the third cycle, it's this 14 million years here, and that's something I want to try to figure out to show this more, where this would have begun in my own life. The familial cycle. I would need to ask my mom basically when I started walking, because what started 40 million years ago were the first monkeys, the first primates that started roaming the earth. This also has a very the product, basically what came out of the cycle, is the stimulus and individual response, where you're no longer forced to do what your family does, but this is where free will more and more starts developing. Now, and this is also the time where at one point is where you go into, not puberty, but let's say this is at the age of, so it starts at, when do people start walking? Let's say 2 years or so. Or no, earlier, like 1 year, you're 1 year old, you start your first steps somehow, more or less,
Right.
plus minus half a year, or plus half a year, let's say. And it's also called familial cycle because you start understanding what a family is through this cycle, right?
Yeah.
You start as cellular matter, as a baby. You don't give a fuck. There's just whatever.
Mhm.
Then in the mammalian cycle, there's still whatever. You have people around you, yes, but you have no concept of what a family is.
Mhm.
You may call for your mom,
Mhm.
because you have grown inside the body. You may start realizing who your daddy is, but this,
you don't value it. You don't value it the same way, and you don't categorize it into the
and
same.
you have no idea about the how big your family actually is. At one point in this familiar cycle is where you start learning, oh wait, my father has sisters and brothers, I have an uncle, I have an aunt, oh grandma, oh cool, let's visit grandma. This is what happens in this cycle. Oh, I need to use my mouse and not my finger on my screen. And this is also where you get the individual response in a degree. Parents say, yeah, let's go to grandma, but you don't like your grandma, so you say, no, I want to stay home. Right? And then because of stimulus response without thinking about it, you maybe start getting angry about it, or you start crying because you don't want to, or you want to, grandma, and your parents say we don't have time.
Right.
Because you're still working with action reaction. So, and consciousness, the higher you go on this level, becomes more and more aware of what's really happening, what you want, using free will more and more. And depending on in what phase you are, if you're in a day or in a night, your response could be something that's based on love or based on hatred, for example. Then
So yeah,
this next cycle, the tribal cycle, this is where you basically, let's say, it should start probably around when you're 8 years old.
okay.
Because you know what your family is, and with 8 years is usually this age where you where not your parents decide who you play with, you know, or allow it or whatever. But so just thinking about my own children, with age were the first things where it wasn't me who was asking other parents if their child has time to play here or to have a sleepover or whatever, but they asked for it. They came up with the idea, oh, I want to play with my friend. Mommy, daddy, can you arrange it?
I get exactly what you're saying, and I just want to add that in conventional neuroscience or psychology, right? The first 8 years of your life, I would be inclined to agree with you, because they say the first 8 years of your life are the years where your brain is developing the most, right? And they say that those first 8 years, the habits, a lot of the habits and decisions that you make in those 8 years, will determine a lot of the rest of your life.
Yeah,
with how
because what's also happening in the first, let's say, the first 7 years are the interesting in this part. The first 8 years is because scientists also don't understand everything, but it's the first 7 years because you have to go through all your 7 chakras, and each chakra cycle is 1 year long, and this is basically, this is what's happening, and that's why it's actually 7 years. The 8th year is when one of these cycles is complete, and you can start applying. You have gone through a lot, you know. This is what we were talking back then also, when I was calculating in which cycle you actually are, remember?
Yeah.
And it was also when you were 19 or so, you were in this I can, and this is when you start the business stuff because you can, and you were no longer this just this greed, you know, this I want no matter what, but I can, so I choose wisely, more or less, my next steps, so I can achieve what I want, basically, what my vision is about myself.
Right. I would say I'm definitely still in that. I think, you know, I'm about 22. Yeah, that's definitely, you know, that is definitely when it started, when I was 19, like on that point. But yeah, that's definitely when it started. That's when I started becoming more aware, like, dang, I really got to grow up. You get what I'm saying? I got to make the right decisions, because this will determine whether we make it or not, I guess. You know what I mean? So,
more or less started with 19, because now think about it. Your second chakra cycle started with 14. Or was finished with 14. So that's when the third chakra cycle started. And 14 to 19, you were basically in the 5th day of that cycle. Where we again, you know, you were here where your higher consciousness of that cycle started kicking in.
Right.
So this whole concept of this evolution of consciousness to be applied to the chakra cycles, for them to fully start making sense, so that you can really apply this, that you don't have just okay, this cycle is about greed, and yeah, everybody's greedy in the beginning, but why these different phases? Why suddenly after 5 years of that cycle, something miraculously happened?
Right.
Why in the 5th night, so that would be basically when you were 20, right? Or no, when you were when you were 19 and a half, basically, is the fifth night. This is something where here it says death. It doesn't mean that you died, but
Yeah, I know.
literally you died. You was like 19 and a half. You had your first proper ego death. Remember?
That's exactly the case. That's exactly the case. And literally ever since then, I turned into a completely different person. Like Benny, you didn't know me as a kid. You didn't know me as a kid. I was a terrible kid. I was always fighting. I did have love always. You get what I'm saying? I always like making people laugh. I was like bringing joy to people, helping people to some extent, but I had a lot of anger issues. I did terrible in school. I had no responsibilities. You know what I'm saying? And then I had this spiritual awakening, right? Around the time I was 19, 18. When I first tried psychedelics, actually, I was 17. But and that was an experience in its own right, right? But once I really started utilizing these experiences and really started truly learning from these experiences, right? Because the first few were more so like maddening experiences, I guess. You know what I mean? I couldn't really gather anything from it, but I did have these visionary experiences. I just didn't know what to make of it. You get what I'm saying? But by the time I was like 18, 19, right? More so 19, right? 19, 20. That's when I really started understanding, and a lot of that came from you. A lot of that came from psychedelic usage, right?
Yeah, because look at
meditation.
what it says about these days. You had your fourth day would then have been at the age of, what would it be?
Like 16,
18,
16.
yes. This is where you had like you were building your foundations for your
What did you say?
business.
What age did you say? Like 16, 15? Like around, no, 16, right?
16 would be, so you have like 14 is the end of that cycle. Then you have so this is basically then you have expansion would be the second day would be what did I say? Yeah, around 16.
Yeah.
The third day would be around 17. The fourth day is 18. The fifth day is 19. The sixth day is 20, and the seventh day is 21.
Yeah.
And at 20, you had your renaissance, basically, where things started revealing and you got you realized a lot more. Then you had a phase of regeneration, and now you're in this completion phase for that cycle, basically. Doesn't mean that you're complete as a whole, but all of the stuff that you have learned during the last cycle basically start making sense. So that's why all of this doesn't apply just to the universe as such, but to each human being. And once the chakra cycles, astrology, and all this, you can combine all of this knowledge. That's what happened to me now. And each individual piece of this doesn't only make sense, but I can even explain it in a way that, yeah, I have never imagined myself doing, basically. Because it just makes sense once you understand it, like everything in life.
Okay, wait. So I have a question. So so we just went through this whole cycle, right? So that seventh day ends when I'm 21, give or take, right?
Yeah, and starts the next cycle.
So which cycle am I on? Which cycle am I on? I guess.
You're basically now in so that's the thing. On this evolution of consciousness cycle,
it's different for everyone, right? I guess, yeah, on the evolution of consciousness.
That's from bottom to top. That's where everybody goes through. From left to right is where everybody goes through.
Yeah.
And you're now basically, you had your trimal. So the tribal cycle is about similarities and differences, of course, because you realize, okay, not only am I different than other people, or maybe you don't realize it. That's,
I do realize that. I do realize it.
Also realize that your family works different than others because you have visited friends that had other families who had different rules.
Right.
And then, so if you're now 22, then you should be in the regional cycle, where your language, so something that a very thing that happens basically in the cycle here at the beginning, is that your language develops in a way that you understand what you talk, what you're saying. You're not just paraphrasing things, but you're actually becoming more eloquent. You can like explain things better. Doesn't mean that you couldn't explain things before, because you are a human, you know. But you can use words to achieve something.
That's actually so crazy. That's actually insane, because that is literally something I noticed. You get what I'm saying? Like, that is something I picked up on just normally. My level of communication, I've always been relatively good at communicating, but now I can articulate in a whole different level. And it is like I know what I'm talking about in a lot of ways, because I have more of a foundation under my principle. You get what I'm saying? I have a reason to believe what I believe. You know what I'm saying? And I understand it more.
And one thing that in the cycle we start, the product of the cycle, or what came out of it, is reasons.
Yeah. Reason. I didn't even mean to say that, but that is exactly what it is. It's reason.
And before that, you were talking about, for example, you wanted ice cream, and mom says, yeah, why? Because you want ice cream. Or yeah, the example with your brother or whatever, give me that car. Why? Because I want that car. You know? Or you start crying and people ask, why are you crying?
I'm sad.
Yeah, or that's already a reason. That's already like a higher consciousness for that cycle. But if
more so like a reaction to something,
on a tribal cycle, or on that familiar cycle, when you were asked like, why are you crying, you didn't know. You were just crying. You had no answer.
Yo, that's crazy. That's actually very
relatable. In this cycle, that's now for you running since a year more or less,
right?
You suddenly find reasons for why you do things, and you can articulate them, because now you have your words for it, your language. You can and it doesn't matter to who you're talking. Anyone, it's not just your mom that can figure shit out, but you have this regional cycle that's in your whole area around it, because now we also have like the internet, so you can talk to people all around the globe and explain them your reasons and figure out their reasons. That's what this cycle is about, that you're right now in.
Wow. Wait, so you're probably on, where are you at? Where are you at right now?
I come to that in a second.
Okay. Are you universal? You think you're at universal? Yeah. Yes. Nah, they even close. Yeah?
Yeah. I'm basically here. And this is something that Ian Zell-Langold didn't answer in his lecture, because it wasn't 2011 when he made it, so he didn't know what's going to happen. But because I went through this phase, I now realize what's actually happening. And so the next cycle that started 3,000, so in the universe cycle, you know, for example, 102,000 years ago, what was there? The Neanderthal, basically.
Yeah.
So, and they had reasons, you know, they wanted this wife, so they took the club and banged the other guy on the head and took the dragged it on the head. So how we have this like this silly version of it, basically, in comics or whatever. And it didn't matter. Your reason was you want this wife. You know?
And that's when things start getting interesting. That's when they start building
the next communities. And it's called also regional cycle, because what the Neanderthals or the people at that age did was defending their territory.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to say. This is when they start building communities. They start building, you know, they probably invented things like fences back then. Like
and one thing that happened within that cycle, something that very practical for us that it happened, was development of agriculture. Because, and this is also something that I learned from Ian Zell-Langold, if you pronounce agriculture a bit different, then it's the agriculture. You know, those people who started agriculture, agreed on a certain culture, and that's why they could settle down and form communities.
Mhm. All right, so I want to point something out, right? So what if people are having trouble following along, right? What we're noticing is there's a pattern, right? There's a pattern that is evolving, right? Obviously, that's the whole point of this. But it has to do with, first of all, complexity, has to do with I guess what awareness, awareness, right? With as we grow in awareness, we gain more and more complexity and we gain more and more interconnectedness. You see what I'm trying to say? And that's what we are evolving towards, as we mentioned in the first place. And that's why the last one, as you can see, is universal. Eventually, the goal is to reach a level of interconnectedness that spans across the entire universe. We become essentially one giant interconnected organism, right?
Exactly.
Go ahead. That's all I wanted to point out in case people are still having trouble following along that pattern. But it's clear, as you can see, we go from regular mammals to families to tribes to entire regions, right? To entire nations, right? To entire an entire planetary civilization, which is probably the level we're striving towards now, right? As a collective.
Yeah, we are a bit further. So that's the thing on a global scale, on an all of mankind scale. We are since October 28th, 2011, in the universal cycle. But because each individual person has their own cycles, so
Wait, that makes sense.
within cycles within cycles. It's one calendar for the universe, and the same calendar applies and starts with each human being, which is in one way, all of these calendars basically end at the same time, or this first revolution of this calendar, because the calendar as such doesn't end.
So
that in a second.
Yeah. But I just want to point out I'm kind of dumb because I didn't even realize it has the actual date there, February 2011. Either way, that's a callback. As many people know, the Mayan calendar ends around that time, right? Give or take.
Here on the other side, every day, if you go from bottom to top, day goes is shorter and 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 shorter. And that's why we experience time going faster and faster and faster.
Exactly. Yep.
So you have this this national cycle, where the product is laws and punishment. It started 3115 BC. And what happened 3115 BC? Upper and Lower Egypt united into the first nation on this planet.
That's crazy.
Right? So and as Ian Zell-Langold would have said now, doesn't this somehow appear that we are on a schedule?
Yeah.
This is the big plan, basically, that's that they say is God's plan, but it's not, again, it's not this literal God in terms of a guy that kind of looks like us, that whatever, but it's the mechanism that consciousness develops in, basically.
It's the principle of the universe. You know what I'm saying? That's basically what it is. And that's what, and even then you have the principle right there: action, reaction, stimulus, response. Stimulus and response. You know what I'm saying? That it's that I guess dualistic.
That's the foundation for all of the other things that happen.
Exactly.
But what happens depends kind of on us, where we put our attention to, the things that we become aware of or not, what direction all of this kind of develops, or where we're stuck at. That's why most people, for example, on our planet right now are stuck, or a lot of people, especially if you look at all the nationalists, etc., they are still stuck in this national cycle.
Yeah, 100%. And that's why I said that initially we might be, I said that foolishly, right? We were probably,
or even worse, you have like, even though it's the cycle where we are very young, a lot of people are still stuck in the tribal cycle. Look at the football fans and the sports fans. They are like, they're celebrating their tribe, and they don't. And as long as they do that, they will be stuck in that cycle because the language they use dictates their consciousness. And if all they ever talk about is football and beer and whatever, then this is what they will be stuck in for a
Yeah.
long time,
And
unless they have like a spark of new consciousness because they see someone else doing something that feels right. And then they think about their own life, and then they get out of the cycle.
yeah,
Even if
and
they're long overdue.
to add on to that point, I agree with you, right? We're not saying it's wrong to be a sports fan, right?
No,
More so, yeah, exactly. It's more so just it's wrong to be in that tribal mindset without the awareness of knowing that it
also
is
it's not wrong. The universe doesn't. The universe makes no mistake.
exactly. Yeah. Good
The
point. Fair
universe
point.
is
Fair point.
always right.
Mhm.
But living in this tribal cycle for too long has consequences.
Mhm.
One of the consequences are that if you live too long in your tribal cycle, then you miss out on beautiful other things that happen all around you, and you're just not becoming aware of it.
Of course.
Whatever that is, you know, that it depends on where you grow up. It depends on, yeah, so many things. That's the complexity you were talking about, because we are so many different lives, different individuals, that you couldn't really say what these people are missing out. But what they're really missing out is actually reaching the top of this pyramid.
Mhm.
And you can reach this as an 11-year-old, and you can reach this basically as a 39-year-old or whatever. That's because these days, again, are not telling you how many days have passed in terms of the sun or the earth revolving around the sun. But this whole cycle from here starts 16.4 billion years ago for the universe, or in my case, that's why I said this cycle started for me 39 years ago. And this evolution of consciousness up to here, that point, happened within 39 years in my case. And the cycle is still going on.
Right.
Next year, I can say this happened here, down here on the bottom left, happened 40 years ago. So, but because now with 39 and everything that happened during the last 1.5 weeks, I realized, so I go through this further. You had like 1755 AD, the planetary cycle. What happened 1755 AD?
1755 AD.
Yeah, what was it?
I guess the invention of what? The Industrial Revolution. The Industrial Revolution. Yeah.
It seems like, yeah. Is AD? Yeah, BC was before. AD is
No, AD is the Industrial Revolution though. This is when
exactly.
trains were probably invented. This is when
Exactly.
cars were probably actually not cars, but you know. But
what was invented and what came out of the cycle was everything that has to do with power in one way or another.
exactly. Yep.
And what here at the 5th day or at the 5th night of the cycle, that's where we wait, I'll show this in the other thingy here, where we can see this. So exactly, the Industrial Revolution was at 1755. On the 5th day of the cycle, we had like factories, the automation, where we could have machines do the work for us because we had power over machines. We could use powered machines, like electricity started. We had like the steam machine and all of this, you know? So we didn't have to work as much for ourselves anymore. But the 5th night, the death phase, basically, was World War II that started. Where we had the first global scale war. The World War I was like this too, but it wasn't as the soldiers still had to do the shit job themselves, you know?
Yeah. And World War II was just World War II brought us to a new level because
all of this.
What did you say? Sorry, I'm sorry. What did you say?
World War II was about tanks and a war from a distance.
Yeah, well, also at the end of World War II, we invented the nuclear bomb.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So
So that's a
really,
big.
you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
And at the seventh day, the thing that began, or this also, it's again, if you watch the a thing from Ian Zerlangold, the video, he explains this in a bit nicer detail than I do, and he doesn't like sidestep so much.
Right.
But the one thing that we started developing on the seventh day, the completion phase of this planetary cycle, was the internet.
Mm.
That's basically the product that this cycle was for. So we are now a planetary civilization.
Right.
Then January 5, 1999 started the galactic cycle, which curiously enough, it's 12.8 years long. Every day is 360 days long, which also is in Maya terms a very interesting day. It has to do with the so these 20 days, yeah. What's no, I need to look this up again. This is stuff that I'm still like writing down and phasing out a bit. So these 360 days basically describes like one revolution.
Mm.
Because we have 360 degrees in a circle. It's
Oh wow, I didn't even think of that. That makes sense.
365 days.
That makes sense.
And so it's the galactic cycle. What happened January 5, 1999?
Uh
You know it. Say it.
oh, 1999?
Yeah.
I know it, but I don't know. I don't want to say the wrong thing. I'm
The
scared.
Hubble Space Telescope sent us the first pictures from outside our galaxy.
Oh wow. Oh, the Hubble. Wow, that's crazy. I didn't even wow. I do know that though. That's crazy.
Uh,
Wow, that's I wasn't even thinking that.
then.
Yeah,
Mm,
that's cool. And around that time, that's when we started. Isn't that like right around that time? That's when space exploration in general was reaching its
but
right.
you have wait. I turn
Like when did we first leave the Earth?
yeah.
Like,
We have the Hubble Space Telescope. Do you see it?
yeah, I know the Hubble Space Telescope. I didn't even think of that though. That's actually a great, fair point. Mhm.
And yeah, it was 1999.
Yeah. Wow. It was that exact year.
January 5, I think it was sent into orbit, and on 25th we had like the first publicly released pictures and stuff like that.
Yeah, look, 25th November 1999. The Hubble Space Telescope is a joint project launched into a low Earth orbit in the ground. It launched in 1990. And
Yeah.
it got sent us the pictures. Wow, that's insane.
So, and then to finish this, and then I need to pee for a second.
Mhm.
On February 11, 2011, event. What happened on 2011? It, you Google what happened on February
Around that time. All right,
2011
I got you. I got you. I got you.
because I'm almost like peeing myself.
Yeah, go for it. Go for it.
So I'm back.
All right, I don't know. I couldn't find something specific. There's a couple of things that around that time were invented. Like 4G was introduced to the public in 2009, but I'm sure it became a like publicly, mass used in 2011. Siri was invented in 2011.
And that's something that's interesting.
AI, right? That's a little advancement in AI right there. Smart devices, like the first iPhone came out in 2007, but I'm pretty sure by the time 2011 rolled around, that's when everyone was getting smart devices, right? You know what I mean? So
Mhm.
things like that. I couldn't find exactly something though. There's like a list of things that were invented. There's MRI vaccines, whatever. Stem cells from fat. We got better batteries. 2011, researchers at PolyPlus have created a working lithium water battery in 2011. Um, let's see.
We also have like in politics a lot of things about decentralization, privatization, um,
Yeah,
uh, what do
wow,
we
that's actually see, and
uh,
that's all kind of culminating around the same thing because this is when the internet and technology was advancing to a point where we needed to have things like that, right?
exactly
Um,
stuff like this. Then you have so where were we? Let me open this here again. In my case, this universal cycle, yeah.
oh, let
Um,
me go back. Hold on. Sorry, oops. There it is. Go. I'm
so
ready.
my galactic cycle probably like if it lasts 12.8 years, then I was 29, 28, yeah, almost at the end of my fourth chakra cycle. So
Mhm.
with 27 and something.
Wow.
Wasn't it around when did we, how long do we know each other?
You were like 33, I think.
Yeah, something
Yeah,
like
because we met around when I was 18, 19.
yeah.
So that was like 3 years ago, 4 years ago, almost
So
4 years.
well, this is 12.8 years ago. This is basically when I started researching all this shit on YouTube.
Yeah.
You know?
By the time you met me, you were pretty well versed. You were already pretty well versed.
Because I haven't
And
done anything else.
yeah, and listen though, I will say within the past 3 years of knowing you, you obviously like you mentioned, right? A lot of what you believe hasn't changed, but you have evolved. Your philosophy, your ideas, your theories have evolved to a point where they're a lot more concise, a lot more well thought out. You know what I mean? So, and I can't even. So, yeah, honestly, it's at the point now, evidently enough, right, where you sort of have, I guess, figured it out, right? You know what I
Yeah,
mean? You kind of
because
are
my
at that universal.
basically or my recommendation for everyone else, even when you think and you believe you figured shit out, don't stop learning.
Mm, never stop evolving.
Exactly. Because if you do, you deny your own or you stop your own evolution of consciousness. And then you get stuck in, for example, a tribal cycle.
Mhm. I always used to say that because like this is coming from a person who was always an atheist growing up. I was always completely against, you know what I mean? Like,
Hmm.
and I thought I knew everything, and that sort of prevented me from living really a fulfilling life, first of all, and also understanding that there's more to life than just this material world, I guess. You know what I'm saying? And there is a pattern behind these things. There is
Exactly.
things. You get what I'm saying? So,
That's
and
something that
really,
I had to admit to too.
yeah, I mean, really, the only thing that was stopping me was myself, my own ego. I wanted to think that I was right. I wanted to, you know what I'm saying? And as soon as you do that, you cap your growth because you know what I mean? Nobody's ever truly right. That's the whole point of this. You know what I'm saying? There's always something to learn. There's always something to evolve towards, right?
Hmm.
So,
So then I had here my universal cycle,
mhm,
which in my case started around, yeah, let's say 200 and so it's 260 days long.
mhm.
And um, that's more or less when I met Sophie.
Wow.
So That's kind of interesting because that was like the eye-opening situation for me, or everything I have learned with her together. Because again, she's into human design and all of this. She wasn't the first one to show me human design. This was Tine back then, but Sophie was explaining me a lot about it. So she's the one who knows the details, you know.
She's the final piece of the puzzle that you need.
In Greek mythology, she's was it Athena or Athena?
Athena's the goddess of wisdom. Yeah,
exactly.
makes sense. There you go. And Sophie, the name, doesn't that mean like philosophy or something?
Yeah, of course. You know,
That's pretty interesting, right? There you go. Crazy how that works.
And she's also, in astrology terms, she's the moon. So that's why for the first time I, as a reflector, I always reflect other people, meaning but I reflect the big picture. You know, the whole. If you are with me, I reflect all of you. I can, as a Jupiter born, or my Jupiter energy is basically that I'm like an X-ray shining my invisible light through you. That's why in me you cannot see your shadow. But Sophie is like the moon, where from our perspective here on Earth, you know, when Sophie is around you, then you can see your light and your shadow. But that's also then how clear that is, or what you see is dependent on what light you shine on Sophie. And Sophie always had the problem, and that's like why we have this very, very nice dynamic, that she never had a moon person around her. And like the full moon is, you know, this big ball. Imagine a pregnant woman. A pregnant woman cannot see her feet. You know, she can see like up to here. And everything that's below the equator is like invisible for the pregnant woman and for the moon, so to speak. But what happened when she met me, she could see in the mirror, you know, so she suddenly could see her feet, and also the extent of her own shadow.
Wow.
So that's why she learned so much about herself, and I learned so much about myself. For the first time, I could see my own shadow. And that basically was all the revelation that I had over the past a bit over 20 days now.
Wow.
Which is, curiously enough, you know, the 7th day of that cycle is about 20 days long. The whole cycle is 260 days. And if we go back to the creation in the Maya thingy, we have like 13 days or 13 intentions and 20 aspects, and 13 times 20 is 260, meaning that in this cycle, each and every thing that happens, goes through one intention paired with one aspect. And what happens once you reach the end of the cycle, or basically this area, is that you divide this again by 13, and then it goes down to, or the next cycle that would fit into this cycle would be something like a week or so, you know?
Yeah.
Or actually 13 days long, where each day is where you don't have, the 7th day wouldn't be a day anymore, but it would be an individual moment.
Wow.
So, and this is what basically happens to me in the past 1.5 weeks, that every moment, so to speak, that I'm thinking about something and I'm talking about this, I have revelation after revelation after revelation after revelation. This is so fucking crazy. blows my mind, and at the same time it's the most calming and relaxing situation I have ever been in. So I've left Widow. I'm finally again in the seventh day where, you know, I couldn't care less if people believe me or whatever. I don't need to fight over this anymore. I just speak my truth. I'm true to myself. I love myself unconditionally. I realized who I really am, and this is one of the reasons why we have this video conversation now, because I'm not afraid about what other people on the internet might say to me or not, because I know what I just explained to you is the truth.
So you're probably, does it feel like you're like tripping almost? Like,
yes.
I mean, that's what I'm saying. Like, that's probably crazy. That's probably insane. Because I know exactly what you're talking about in the sense of like that epiphany, right? You keep on having these constant epiphanies. Because I've had moments in my life where it's kind of like, especially with psychedelics, right? Where I like it's like enlightening. It's like, and you can't stop having these epiphanies, right? And for you, it's probably crazy because you actually have an understanding. You're probably reaching an understanding of literally the universe. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you see what I'm trying to say? Like, I don't know how to explain it. So I can't even imagine it on that level.
That out of mankind, in one way or another, understands what I'm talking about and can profit from that gained knowledge, basically, and that understanding that I now have. One of these revelations, or the series of revelations, was understanding what it means to be Jupiter born, that I really have this consciousness or the soul of Zeus, basically, and these first gods of whatever, which again doesn't make me better or whatever. It's just that some of us are Jupiter born and have this oldest soul ever, and which, yeah, as in Spider-Man, you know, great power or great whatever comes with great responsibility, because I realized, and that's oddly enough something that I became aware of, how this, or that it's like not something that I make up for myself, but since I started realizing this, you can see the power of the elite, etc., swindling and fading away. When I first realized this, and I had really like a conversation, I even have my WhatsApp chat for this still, with Sophie about this, that I started realizing that the Greek mythology and Zeus' life basically is an expression of my life. I'm also this guy who is, I'm not monogamous. I like women and men to a degree too, but on a, how to say, on a demisexual way. So I'm not fucking anyone or everyone just because they are there, but those people that I have this, that I really like somehow, because they have something to them that's like attracting me, I would like to have sex with them out of principle, you know, not to have some advantage or to have a future with them or whatever, but just as you also said, just to spread seeds out of principle.
That's Zeus. That's Zeus right there.
Exactly. And at the same time, those I had something with, I'm very protective of. So I would also never degrade a woman or man or whatever for any sexual reasons. I have no distinct body type or hair color that I'm into. It's really on a soul level. So
it's a vibrational. It's probably like a vibrational thing, I guess.
yeah,
Like
exactly.
it's like a wavelength.
How the person looks like. So beauty is not something that's, for me, something that I can see on the outside. Of course, there's this subjective beauty where of course some women I say, wow, she looks amazing, but I know what part of me is it that's speaking. That's the ego speaking, you know. But there can be
Awareness. It's different. It is a different level of
there
awareness.
can be
And
a
if you look,
subjectively, or where like civilization says, oh, this woman is ugly, you know, or fat or whatever. If she has this kind of awareness, or this, you know, it's how you wear your suit.
yeah,
If you wear it with confidence, then that attracts me. If you're a person that's very honest, that attracts me. And then it becomes irrelevant what you're looking like, because I had like girlfriends in my past who were looking like really amazing, but they started lying to themselves and to me, and suddenly I found them ugly.
yeah.
So,
Yep.
and
So wow. So dang. So you're pretty much at like a level of, it is like a telepathic type of,
yeah, kind of, but
like a, you
I
know what I mean?
wouldn't really say telepathy, but maybe spooky action at a distance or so.
That's funny, actually. That's a good one. You gotta use it. You gotta make that your thing now.
Yeah. So that's the evolution of consciousness in a nutshell.
That's pretty crazy though. So you're saying that how you perceive people is essentially you're viewing them in many ways, probably like yourself.
Yeah, of course.
You know what I'm saying? And so you're picking up on
And
yourself and other people.
because I know, yeah, and the product of this last cycle, that's what I didn't say yet, but it's nonetheless very interesting. And it's the no, I closed it. Okay, the product of this cycle, that's what the cycle was there for. Where do I have it? I want to not have this here. Is a conscious co-creation. Up to here, creation just happened. And from this cycle on,
Oh,
or that's
wow.
what this cycle is there for, that we can finally have a conscious co-creation. Be it in science, for example, we now have the possibilities or the skills to create life out of a petri dish. For
Yeah.
example, we can modify genes, we can like have our fingers in creation, so to speak.
Yeah.
And at the same time, that's something that I realized, and where I instantly, not even the moment that I started doing it consciously in this term, but the moment I realized that it's basically my universe, you know. So I'm this, if you have this pyramid of the consciousness of mankind, my soul and those of other Jupiter-borns, as you said, you are Jupiter-born, that's why we relate so much.
Am I Jupiter born? Am I Jupiter born? I don't even.
Yeah,
How
we
do I
have to
know?
figure that out.
That's what I'm saying.
But if you have this Mars energy, or this, that's also Zeus basically, or Jupiter. We have to
Well, no.
figure
Wait,
this
wait.
out. If
I have a
anyone
question.
in watching this, if you know how to calculate if someone is Jupiter born, please show us how, or tell us where.
How did you calculate yours? How did you calculate yours?
Sophie came on my birthday, and she had this calculated and printed out by someone who knows how to do this.
Oh, wow.
And they do this professionally, so they do these all this astrology stuff. And she printed, wait, it's in German, it's anyways, but she printed out for me here like
Oh, wow.
Jupiter, or Jupiter in Scorpio, and it's like a multi-page all about the Jupiter born Scorpio.
Wow.
And quite interesting. It's totally me. It's 100%. It's like every aspect of me is like written down here, and it was like a whoo moment. And when she gave this to me, I didn't make much, or so I understood it, because I'm into stuff like this for years. But again, I'm not the person for details, so I was never interested in learning how to calculate this. It was
Right.
more like this general understanding, this bigger picture, how this relates to all the other parts of astrology, or again, how this relates to the and connects with the Maya calendar and all of this. This is my field of expertise, basically. That's why I couldn't calculate this for you now. But maybe I just or we need it in English. So for him we need it in English. Or if anyone, or if we find a website for this also, actually it's possible to calculate this, but not as simple as just making a horoscope, for example.
Right.
And what's the other thing that I wanted to say? I forgot. Yeah.
You said
My
you go
soul
ahead.
and all the other Jupiter borns, basically, we are like, as you said, probably Andrew Tate and Kanye, etc., might have the same energy to them. Maybe we can figure this out too. Would be a nice
Cool.
looking into this hypothesis, basically.
Mhm.
And this is the foundation for all of human consciousness. Meaning stuff that I become aware of in one way or another, potentially all of mankind can become aware of. And others before me who were also Jupiter born. But because we are now in this, out of this galactic underworld and this universal underworld, since 2011, Jupiter borns have the capability or the capacity, basically, to, mankind couldn't have all of these revelations that I'm having now before that date, basically. You know, this is when, because now we have this interconnectedness, we can talk to so many people, can exchange so many experiences, so many life stories, etc., that this, what unconditional love actually means, even though we have like these gurus and whatever who were talking about this for a long time. We had Jesus who was talking about this, but nobody understood it properly. We all
So
had
I have a question. Sorry, I have a quick question.
Ask.
When did Ian create this? When did he make this?
Wait, I looked this up. Where do I have him? Can I drag this? No, I can't. There's one that's here. Ian.
When did he calculate this? Really, that's the real question.
Ian Zeldangold. Doesn't he have like? So he died on November 16, 2005.
Wow, it's crazy.
So before that.
Do you think he was potentially a Jupiter born? Maybe.
I don't know.
Yeah, it's hard to really. That it would be pure speculation, right?
Yeah. So we have his birth date and where he was born, etc. Find engraved memorial. That's funny. Website. Let's see. Do you see the website? Yeah.
No, I don't see anything. I just see the chart right now.
So it's in German, but no, it's not in German. Or it is, but so he was born January 26th in 49, somewhere in LA. And let's see if there's something. Does it say what he
died of cancer?
That's
a physical body into the waiting hands of God. Either way, I kind of got the answer. So, it was before 2011. That's all I really wanted to know.
What's important to know about him? He's like a genius, having discovered this shit. So it's basically besides the Happiness Unlimited series from Sister Shivani, for example, and also, and a lot of Indian people laughed about me for this. One of my like one of those prime experiences or those foundations for what I then started researching and understanding was like this Indian guru Nityananda. You know Nityananda?
I've definitely heard of him.
He's like this funny guru guy who sits in his chair and like talks about this Sanskrit stuff, etc., and explains it. This is the guy where I learned the pranayama breathing technique and other things just by watching one video, basically, because he explains it in a way that kind of resonated with me.
Right.
And then I found out, like, after having these experiences myself with ketamine, etc., sometimes when he sits on his chair, he's like having these like sparkly big eyes, and he's like, life is a mysterious one. Please understand. You know, and he looks like he's just coming out of his K-hole, and he probably is, because I mean, here is like the source of ketamine, you know, where it's mostly coming from on those chemists. And so he also has revelation after revelation after revelation sometimes, and that's, I don't know, it's funny.
That's cool though.
So Nityananda was interesting. Also, like guys like Sadhguru, etc. But I find Sadhguru a bit arrogant.
Yeah, I the same exact thing on my end too. Sometimes he'd be a little arrogant, but he has fair points regardless, and he's very wise.
Of course he is, like, that's out of the question.
Right.
And this is also, again, my old shadow, basically. So it's something that I remember thinking. But in the end, Sadhguru is like honest and true to himself.
Right. And he's righteous. He's a righteous.
He's righteous.
I don't know him personally, but from what I've seen, he's a very righteous person.
He wouldn't start lying, you know, no matter what people think of him. So that's basically exactly the thing that I started understanding, and what I do too now.
That's evidently enough. He's making a change in the world with that ability, right? With that perception. So I guess maybe it's your turn.
I think what's very important is that it's not just an Indian guru doing this, which is nice if they do, you know, but it's about people like you and me. We have to be the exact same example, basically, of what's righteous and what's love.
Right.
But this needs to spread like wildfire in all communities, in all different areas on this planet. The more people understand what I and you and we are talking about, the more people will become like us in this relation, you know?
Right.
And the sooner we stop fighting wars.
Right. Yeah. And that's the name of the game. All of these people have tried to show us, right? Like, once you win the war within yourself, right, and truly learn to love yourself and love yourself.
The biggest war. It's the most difficult challenge that we have.
Yeah. But
beyond ourselves. So.
To that point, once you win that war, it's you can start winning the war outside of you, I guess, right? So.
Yeah, and only then. If you're still fighting a war inside yourself, you will never be able to win a war outside, and you know.
Exactly. Yeah.
Chances that you lose every external war is like really high.
Yeah.
So and that's not worth it. It's actually worth doing this, as I said in the beginning. It's do your homework, research this, learn about this, read the Bible, not to become a Christian believer, but to actually see and understand why the Bible story is identical to the Greek mythology, why this is the exact same story, why the Egyptian gods are the exact same story. This is all the same. There's no it's not about believing something, it's about knowing and applying that knowledge to your own life.
Mhm.
And this is how we change ourselves and the world for
Mhm.
good. Because
Yeah.
in the end, we are in the 7th day of creation, and that's a light phase. So let's get our shit together, people. So
Mhm. Yeah. Yep. It's about, yeah, knowing you, not even, it's about knowing within yourself, right? And then applying that to the outer world, right? And then in that, that's how you realize that there is no outer world, really. It's more so you are the world, I guess, right? So
as
yeah.
above, so below, you know?
Mhm. Mhm. I think that was a great talk. I don't know.
Yes, I
Got
think so.
anything else?
Now it's
Anything else? That was a
28,
long one.
so I think I need to go to bed soon.
Yeah, that was a long talk. We gonna have fun editing that, I guess, right?
Yeah, but it's fun. So I really
Yeah,
enjoy talking to you,
yeah. Me too, man. Always, always,
and we should
always.
really have this like more than once a month, ideally, because
Yeah,
there's
yeah.
so much that yeah, we can talk about and we can learn from each other, and other
Mhm.
people can learn from us, and we can learn from other people. So if you have any questions, comments, or whatever, you want to know more, or you want to maybe yeah have specific questions that we can talk about in a coming video,
Mhm.
let us know in the comments below. And yeah, have a
Mhm.
nice day, evening, life, and whatever.
Mhm. Peace and love and light, prosperity, whatever, whatever. I guess I don't know. That's my little outro. Like
Yeah,
he said, subscribe. I guess I don't know if you were interested in
yeah,
seeing more. Subscribe, like, comment. Do whatever you got to do. I mean, if you don't like us, you can tell us down below. You can tell us we're a bunch of
yeah,
assholes. You
but
know it
we
all,
don't
whatever.
give a
Exactly. We won't give a fuck. You know what I mean?
fuck.
So yeah.
Also, we don't give a fuck if you like us, you know.
Yeah, exactly. True,
That's
true.
that's
Because we love
that's my final word. I always say don't thank me for something, you know. But if you like what I do, do what I do.
Mhm.
So that's the
That's it.
biggest thank you we can get.
Right.
Um, yes. So I think I click here on stop video, and we can still
All right. I guess I'll leave.
each
I don't
other.
know. Do I leave or just, yeah, I'll just leave and you can end it.
I don't know. Maybe we see
I
each
think you
other.
can just stop the recording. You can just stop the recording.
Yeah, no, I haven't stopped it yet, but wait. Um, I'm looking for the record button. So I
Where is
can
it? It's down
stop the video. No, that's just
in the
stopping.
middle.
Doesn't
It's
make
in the
sense.
middle down below. Nah.
No, I don't have it down. I have it on the top.
Oh, you have it on the
Oh,
top.
I
Yeah,
see
yeah,
it. It's the pause button here.
yeah.
So
All right.
no, that's not even that. So I do this differently. I just stop Zoom.
Yeah, just end it, I guess. Yeah.